Good evening. Hello. Could I have everyone try and find a seat? Wow, this is terrific. We might not have enough chairs. We do have some spots down in front, in case anyone wants to sit down in front. Thank you. On behalf of the Onset Protective League, I would like to welcome you to tonight's Candidates Night. This is now a tradition with our little organization, and what we try and do is present the candidates so that you can find out information about how they will serve this community and hopefully give you a little bit more knowledge to make a good decision. But before we get started tonight, I would like to ask Ted DeMoulin to come up and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. We have young people from every community in Massachusetts serving in foreign countries, and we need to honor them. So if you would rise, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. God bless America.
Thank you, Ted. No, be careful, careful. Okay, our first group of candidates are going to be the constable, the school committee, and the assessors. So if y'all could come up here, I would appreciate it. I believe all these races are uncontested. So it's just very nice of them to come and speak to you this evening. Yeah. Yeah, it's more comfortable than everybody kind of hanging out. Okay, if I could have the school committee over here. Assessors are over here. Yes, you're in the center. All right, we're missing someone. Well, yeah. Okay. Well, if we will start with the constable. And sir, if you will introduce yourself. And
my name is Stephen Coughlin, and I'm running for constable. I've been a constable for the past 6 years in Wareham, and it's up for re-election. Any questions?
what does a constable do?
Constable works for the town, serving papers, posting the warrants and different notices from Boston, and they come out of the selectman's office or out of the town clerk's office, as well as working with the courts and lawyers and citizens, serving subpoenas and summonses and different court orders and that type of thing.
Does anyone else have a question? For the constable?
Thank you.
Okay. All right. The next gentleman is here for the Board of Assessors.
Hi. Oops. My name's Dave Smith, and I'm running for the Board of Assessors. Don't know quite what to say other than the fact that I'm running because, well, basically with just a few exceptions, I like the people of Wareham, and I want to serve them. And I think that this particular office is one of the most important offices, if not the most important office. Everybody else deals with spending the money, and we deal with collecting it. So we got to make sure that people are properly assessed, that they're not overcharged, and certainly that they're not undercharged. I would like to be able to assure everybody that I'm open for people to contact me, and I just want to give back to the citizens of Wareham. That's where I come from. I just want to also mention, for those of you that want to ask me what my qualifications are, the state of Massachusetts has a nice little course, which actually is about a 6-week course, which actually teaches the people that are running for the different boards, or the Board of Assessors, the assessors and the assistant assessors, how to do their job. You have to take this course, you also have to pass it. If you do not pass the course, you cannot be an assessor. It's my understanding. So with that, I guess if anybody has any questions. I got it April 7th. They got me signed up, and I'm going to take it the day after I have to, or 2 days after I supposedly will be elected.
All right. Do we have any other questions for the constable or for the Board of Assessors? Are you running unopposed, Dave?
Well, there's 2 of us and there's 2 open seats.
There's 2 people running for the deputy moderator. If they would come up at this point, that way everybody doesn't have to sit still. Okay.
That's over.
I do hope you're all coming with questions for the selectmen's candidate, or this will be a very short meeting. All right, Dr. Sylvia, would you like to talk first?
If you say so. Cliff Sylvia, most of you know me, and some of you I had in class. Hi, Mary Ann. How you doing? Hi, Mary. Hi, Kenny. The work isn't done yet. We still have work to do. And I never walk away from an unfinished job. So I decided to run for a 4th term. I think that we can do better. I think we've done well, but I think that we have to concentrate on making Wareham schools a bastion of pride for the community. And so I ask for your vote. And I pledge to you my support in representing all of the children of Wareham. Thank you.
After everyone's done speaking. Thank you. Ken?
I thought you were going to say hold the applause for me. So,
For that, sure.
Kenny Fawns, I'll ask my first question, why am I running for school committee again? Just like Dr. Sylvia said, there's a lot of work that needs to be done. There's some lessons learned. This was my first term in politics, and I'm a high school basketball referee. When I'm on the court and I make a call, half of the people in the gym love me, the other half think I stink. And I think it's the same on the school committee. There's going to be decisions that I'll make that are popular with some people, and other people it's not popular. But I guarantee when I make the decision, I'm very comfortable with the decision that I'm making. I'm proud to be part of Wareham, been here 54 years, and this is a special election because it shows you the amount of people that care about the town. When you have 6 strong candidates running for the Board of Selectmen, to me that shows that a lot of people care. My goal going forward is for the school committee to work with the Board of Selectmen, the current selectmen, and the 2 new members that are coming on board. I think we can get a lot done together, and I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.
Is there anyone with questions for the candidates for school committee today? No one? Oh, come on, you guys. Come on, wake up. Okay. Brenda has a question. All right, Ted.
Thank you. I just wanted to know, both of you just referred to that there's more work that needs to be done. I was just wondering if you could elaborate on that.
I think work has to be done in the schools, definitely with MCAS. I'm not extremely happy with some of the scores. We need to focus in math, and I think the principals are doing a good job. Last night, Mr. Palladino did a presentation about changing the block scheduling at the school. And one thing that they're getting rid of, I'm glad they waited till I got out of school, is they're going to get rid of study halls. And I think that that's a good thing because it's more time on learning for the kids. So there's work that has to be done on that part. As far as from the school committee, I think that the school committee and the Board of Selectmen and everybody else in the town need to be on the same page. If we're not on the same page, then nothing's going to get done in this town. I don't want to read negative comments about the 2 boards because it doesn't do any good for the people sitting out there. I'm excited. There's a possibility that based on protocol, I'll be the next chairman of the school committee, and if the same holds true, Mr. Cruz would probably assume that position on the Board of Selectmen. And I think we have a great working relationship, and the first thing I would do is set up a meeting with the chairman of the Board of Selectmen and see how we can work together to make sure that, to steal someone's phrase, that we're able to move Wareham forward into a new direction where we want to be. Okay.
I think we have work to do in terms of reaching out to the community, but I also think that the majority of our work has to be done in terms of teaching and learning. We've made some strides. We've made some strides at the middle school, and certainly we look to our high school with pride because everyone at our high school passes the MCAS. But we have had some problems at the Deacon's and the Minot Forest School that need to be corrected. So we have to be looking at curriculum. We have to be looking at alignment, and more importantly, we have to be looking at assessments. So I think there's some work to be done on that in terms of teaching and learning, and that's my expertise, and this is one of the main reasons why I'm still in education after 45 years, because I think that I can bring something to the table in terms of providing the best possible opportunities for our kids as it reflects on teaching and learning and curriculum construction. I also think that we need to look at alternative ways of maintaining our funding status. The way education is funded is really not fair if you really want to come right down to it. So what's happened is we've looked to alternative sources of funding education. We've established the Wareham Education Foundation, which is now off and running and doing very, very well. And so I think that in terms of the work that we've got ahead of us, we have to continue to work in propagating and continuing to look for alternative funding sources. The most important thing, however, is the fact that we still have an achievement gap between what students in Wareham are doing and what the state average is doing. There is absolutely no reason, ladies and gentlemen, why Wareham students cannot be at state average. And so I'm committed more than ever to close that gap and to make Wareham students at least comparable to whatever the state average is in terms of English language arts and mathematics. So those are just an encapsulation of the things that we have to do and the work that still needs to be done. And certainly collaboration and cooperation is certainly something that we need to do. So I look forward to the challenge. I look forward to serving another 3 years, and I think that Wareham and Wareham schools can be what they should be. And the expectation is that all students can succeed and can succeed at high levels. Thank you.
Yes, Ted, down here in front.
Hi, Martha Main. I was wondering the specific reasons behind the decision of the school department not to allow the town to use the schools for voting purposes after they've been used for so many years.
To be honest with you, that I don't have a comment on it because there is no policy at the school committee that prevents the town from using the schools for polling. The school committee had no knowledge that it even became an issue until last Tuesday. So it's very difficult for me to respond to an issue that there is limited information on. So there is no policy, to my knowledge, that prevents the town from using the schools for polling.
So if the school committee didn't know before last week about this, is this a decision that was made unilaterally by the superintendent of schools, or it hasn't been made?
No decision has been made. There was an inquiry by the principal at the Deacon's school about the safety of the kids and the traffic there, trying to get an additional police officer. So there was some dialogue between the principal and I believe the superintendent, but it's the policy. There's no policy change. I sat on the policy review committee in the past, and I know members of our committee that are on the policy review committee now would have come to the board of, not board of selectmen, to the school committee and said, we want to change this policy or take a look at that. That has never been done. The first time I heard about this was I was at my job and I got a call from Dr. Sylvia saying, did you read the paper and about the polling, and that's the first I heard of it. It's, believe me, it's a non-issue. Nothing has changed about it. It's something that'll probably be looked at down the road, but I know I read a comment by someone that said maybe we can use it as an educational thing. It might be a nice idea for the kids in the school to see how the voting process works, and maybe they can be involved in voting in their local politics. But no change has been made to that policy.
If that's the case, can someone explain to me why we're not allowed to vote at Minot Forest School?
Well, thank you, but they've already addressed the question. They don't have the answer yet, so sorry. All right, does someone else have a Marianne?
Good evening, Mary Ann Silva, Town Clerk. Can I ask whose responsibility it is to determine who uses the school? Is it the school committee's responsibility?
That would be the decision of the superintendent. The principals can make a recommendation to the superintendent, but the school committee is not in the position to micromanage that. So that's definitely the call of the superintendent.
All right, Ted, there's a gentleman over there by the wall.
Yes, George Hempel. What is going to be done to, sorry. Thank you. Can you hear me? What is going to be done to decrease the dropout rate and also to increase the graduation rate in our school system?
We've just gone over the numbers, and believe it or not, our dropout rate is below state average, so I think that that's a progress that we've made. Certainly we want to decrease it even further. One of the things that we've done, as you well know, that we have 2 alternative schools functioning right now, and that has done leaps and bounds to decrease the dropout rate, especially at the high school. The other thing that we've done is we have an alternative school that is basically a special needs alternative school for students with behavioral problems. And that is really working out real well. Not only is it deflecting some of the behavioral issues that would cost someone from dropping out, but also it's providing some income because we've got tuition students into that program. The alternative school, the cooperative junior-senior high school, is also one of the strategies that have been put in place since I've been on the school committee to try to reduce the dropout rate. So I think we have made some progress on that. Certainly we need to keep going and make sure that all of our students succeed. One of the other factors that have to be considered is the high transient population in Wareham, and that factors into our numbers when it comes to the dropout rates as reported by the DOE. So we're doing everything we possibly can, and we are committed to making sure that every student that enters Wareham Public Schools finishes Wareham Public Schools.
There's really nothing more to add other than what Dr. Sylvia said, because we're all on the same page at every school committee meeting. That's always a subject about the dropout rate, the addition of the West Wareham Academy, and of course the good work that's going on at the cooperative school has helped our numbers decrease. As the last chart I saw showed over the last 4 years, that number has, Sylvia said, it's not at a comfort level where the principals are happy with it and the superintendent, and definitely not the school committee.
Hi, my name is Maureen Scartesi. I have a child in the middle school. I was curious what plans are in place to increase the MCAS scores. One of the things I wasn't too happy about as a parent is when my daughter was at Minot Forest, they had band, and they had it several times a week. We've invested in an instrument, and now that this is her first year at the middle school, which she is doing well, but there's hardly any emphasis on band. There's no art. She only has gym, once a quarter. The majority of the day is focused on, the 4 basics: English, math, science, and whatnot. What's left, or what plans are in place to improve the MCAS scores?
A lot of that all goes back into the funding circle. Unfortunately, some of those programs like you're talking about, band and things, got cut. At the middle school, Principal Gilmore has made some major changes there since he's been there. One of the things that he has done is added more time to math. I know you're talking about ELA, English Language Arts, and he added more time to math to try and increase the scores. I commented on that at last night's school committee meeting that our math scores had improved, but recently they're starting to go down again. So there's a lot of work to do at the middle school as to how we can do that, how we can creatively find the funds to reinstate some of these programs that are cut, that are important to kids, like the arts and band and programs such as that. It's very difficult. These kids are in some classes 83 minutes, which is English and math, and it doesn't leave much time for other programs. We do have some plans going forward to work with the superintendent and also the principal of the high school as they're feeding into trying to develop programs that will help that. We live in a society where everything is testing. I'm not in favor of MCAS. I think our kids are all rated on how they are tested, and there has to be a better way to do it.
My question is a fiscal question, and I know Cliff and Kenny, you're going to be on for the next 3 years. How do you view the fiscal picture for the Wareham School Department? Because we have a lot of needs, a lot of unmet needs. It's going to cost money. What do you see the budget, where we're headed in the budget, and what we need? And are we supplying the resources that we need to do all the things people are talking about here?
There's never enough resources, Mr. Brusso. I think everyone in this room knows that. Unfortunately, it's a case of putting your best foot forward and trying to get the most out of the resources that you do have. There is never enough resources. Wareham has been at the bottom of the barrel in terms of school spending for a long time now. And what's happened now is it's starting to rear its ugly head because we got no place else to cut. I mean, one of the reasons why we don't have programs at the middle school, and we don't, it's sad, and you're looking at someone that is always talking about expanding experiential education, okay, it's very difficult to do when you don't have the funds. And so it is a bleak picture. But you know what? It's about how we fund education. It's about the state formula. It's about the state of Massachusetts funding its mandates. If the state of Massachusetts would only fund its mandates, we wouldn't be in nearly the mess that we're in right now. No, there aren't enough resources, and there haven't been enough resources. And it's manifested itself in what we offer in our schools. It's very sad that we offer one grade 2 days a week art in the middle school and another grade 2 days a week music. That's sad for the middle school. Even when I went to middle school a million years ago, at least I got to the wood shop and made a shelf for my mother. That's not even available to our kids now. We're in a sad state of affairs, and no, there isn't enough resources to go around. I think everyone in this room realizes that. But unfortunately, everyone's vying for those dollars, and those dollars are precious. We need to do more about funding and finding alternative funding methods, and we have to do more to be politically active in Boston and in Washington to change the way we fund education. If the state is going to mandate programs, then the state should fund them.
I'm Joyce Silverman, and my colleague here went to school with my oldest son, so I know the schooling that she had, and I really am sad as a grandmother and with kids not in school anymore and no grandchildren in school around here. I just wanted to remind people that in 1980, the state of Massachusetts, the Commonwealth, in its wisdom or non-wisdom, gave us 2.5. I don't know how many of the people here recall it. I happen to have worked in the legislature when they had to figure out what were they going to do with it. So I just wanted to remind people that it isn't only Wareham with the problem. It is the state as well as the current economy as well as a lot of other things. But 1980 was the time when all of this began in Massachusetts.
Do we have any other questions?
Thank you.
The next race we have is for deputy moderator, and as we have no incumbents, we are going alphabetically. So Joseph will start first, and then John, and yes. Okay, John, we can move that way. You can move over. They can move over. Okay. But if you want to. Steve? Maybe
Use your microphone?
All right. Good evening, my fellow citizens. My name is Joseph Ashley, and I would like to share with you why I am running for deputy moderator. I believe that the best leader is often the best listener. I believe that my youthfulness is an asset to this position, and that involving young people in government is crucial to our town's future. I believe in the town meeting form of government, and that it is the best form of government for our community. I believe the moderator and the deputy moderator must be unbiased managers of the town meeting process, and I believe that I am the best candidate for the position of deputy moderator. I am a full-time student at Massasoit Community College, majoring in criminal justice. Over the past 5 years, I have attended town meeting regularly. I have become a student of town meeting, learning its functions through the hands-on experience of being a part of the town meeting process. As an ordinary citizen, I have been an active participant in the town meeting process, voting, attending, and occasionally speaking in that great assembly of minds that is meant to allow ordinary citizens like me to take part in the government of their town. Town meeting provides a unique experience that voters in cities do not possess. It allows voters to play an active role in their government, rather than delegating that responsibility to a city council that may or may not represent them, the true, everyday Americans. Town meeting allows for the development of new ideas for the town. It is the purest form of democracy, where the people directly take part in their government. With this in mind, I represent the future of Wareham, those who will be called upon to govern it tomorrow. But in order to govern tomorrow, we need to accept the concept of our future today. Rather than letting ourselves be consumed by the past, let us embrace the present, which paves the way for the future. I am perfectly capable of executing the position for which I am running. On a moment's notice, I am ready to run town meeting. To see at Wareham High School, I achieved the distinguished rank of captain, both the color guard commander and a company commander. As color guard commander, I was responsible for supervising practices, training each member to execute correctly every maneuver a color guard must make. I led the color guard in many events, competitions, and parades. In preparing for these events, I was in a position where I listened to others' ideas and then made the decisions, some of them difficult, on how events would be executed. There were times when I had to make decisions on disciplinary actions. It was here that I gained the leadership skills that will qualify me to take the moderator's place and run town meeting if I am called upon to do so. But these are not the only qualifications to be deputy moderator. For 2 years, I was the youth representative to the Episcopal Cape and Islands Deanery, where I acted as a representative of my church. While a student at Wareham High School, I was the morning show weatherman and gained experience in making presentations. I have also sung solos in front of my peers at church and school. This gives me the confidence to succeed at running a meeting. I have been a committed team member at work, reliably showing up on time and working in the same place for the past 3 years. I mention my dedication to my job because I feel it is a necessary quality of leadership. For if one is not dedicated to the task, then one is unfit to lead. Wareham needs someone who will be dedicated to working with the moderator to execute town meeting. It does not matter who the current moderator may be. It matters how well the deputy moderator can work with the moderator. This is why I am the right person for the job, because I am capable of working with any moderator for the unbiased advancement of the beliefs of the people of this town. My friends, it is also important to remind you that the best leader is also the best listener. I am the person who listens, and that is exactly why I'm the right person for the position of deputy moderator in the town of Wareham. I will listen to every person every town meeting participant, and if called upon to preside over town meeting, my decisions will be fair. The moderator and deputy moderator must remain neutral when presiding over town meeting. I know that some of you have been leery about my age. Well, my friends, I may be young, but young people in history have done some amazing things. If you want to improve Wareham, encourage young people to vote, and pave the way for the future, I ask for your vote on Tuesday, April 5th. Thank you.
I'm sorry, we hold the applause until both candidates have an opportunity to speak. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone in the audience and the viewers at home.
Oh, you just let the cat out of the bag.
Let the cat out of the bag.
We're live on cable TV, which I wasn't going to tell any of you, but...
Well, I didn't tell anybody, so you didn't have to tell anybody either. Hello, my name is John Donahue, and I'm a candidate for Deputy Moderator, and I'm asking for your vote on April 5th. I'm running because I have the experience and because I want to help. During the course of this campaign, I've been asked pretty much the same question over and over again. What is a deputy moderator? What does a deputy moderator do? How long have we had a deputy moderator? And what do you expect of the position? Well, quickly, the role of the deputy moderator is to assist the town moderator in preparation for town meeting and to assume all duties and responsibilities for moderator in the event that the town or recuses himself or herself to avoid any potential conflict of interest. The responsibilities of town moderator are governed by the Massachusetts general laws, our bylaws, and the town charter. The primary duties of the town moderator are to conduct the meeting and to serve as the chairman of the appointing authority, which appoints various individuals to a number of town boards and committees. In preparation for town meeting, the deputy moderator should be knowledgeable of all articles on the town meeting warrant. The deputy moderator should also evaluate the required quantum of the vote, whether it's a majority vote, 4/5 vote, 9/10 vote, and so on and so forth, depending on the issue at hand in the article. And the deputy moderator has to interpret the scope of the articles to determine to what extent an article may be amended without changing the original intent of the article itself. So, why am I the most qualified candidate for deputy moderator? I served as your town moderator for the previous 9 years up until the last year. I'm a graduate of the University of Massachusetts Amherst with a bachelor's degree. I also hold a law degree from Southern New England School of Law. I have attended town meeting for more years than I care to remember, actually, more than 30 years. And I currently serve as vice chairman of the Plymouth County Charter Commission. I'm also a member of numerous civic and social organizations, serving in such capacities in some of those organizations as chairman and treasurer. During my 9 years as moderator, I initiated a number of innovative procedural changes intended to enhance the town meeting experience. Just want to give you a few examples of those efforts to improve the efficiency of town meeting and to reduce the time that it takes to complete our business at town meeting. I modified a publication produced by one of my colleagues entitled Town Meeting Procedure in a Nutshell. Most of you are probably familiar with it when you attend town meeting. And I made it conform to the way in which we conduct our town meetings in the town of Wareham. This booklet was distributed at every town meeting, and it explains in layman's terms such things as how to make a motion, how to amend a motion, how to question the moderator's declaration of a vote, or how to take an article out of order, to name a few examples. This publication was posted on the Town of Wareham's website under the Moderators page, and I hope it still is, although I haven't checked lately. I assisted in the introduction of PowerPoint presentations to town meeting. All warrants, all articles, all motions, along with any relevant backup information such as charts or maps or graphs, are projected on a widescreen display, as all attendees of town meeting know, and viewers of town meeting know. This has helped everyone to follow along with the flow of the articles and the motions at town meeting, and consequently sped up our deliberations without compromising the integrity of the procedure. I also introduced the use of a consent calendar The consent calendar is a method of combining routine, housekeeping, non-controversial articles into one motion to be voted on without debate. This results in a more efficient use of everyone's time. For example, at one town meeting, we dispensed of approximately 15 articles in one motion at town meeting, which probably saved us a half an hour to an hour's time. And I'm glad to say that that consent agenda has continued to be used by the current moderator. Several years ago, I introduced the use of high school tellers for the purpose of counting the votes at town meeting. Not only did these students assist the adult tellers, the town clerk and I, but the experience also provided a real-time educational opportunity for the students to participate in and to observe the legislative process. And on that note, I wish to commend Mr. Ashley for engaging in the political process. It's good to see young people willing to participate in our form of self-governance. In conclusion, I wish to stress that it is important to have a seasoned deputy moderator, someone who is well versed in the law, the priority of the motions on the floor, the parliamentary rules of order, and the past precedents of town meeting. It is important to have a deputy moderator who is not only fair and objective, but has the ability to remain focused and calm, and is able to concentrate and multitask under sometimes stressful conditions. And I believe that I am that candidate. Therefore, I ask for your consideration of my qualifications to serve as your deputy moderator. And more specifically, I ask for your vote on April 5th. Thank you.
You guys are good. You both had 25 seconds. Okay, who would like to start the questions? Come on. Going once. I think the microphone. Oh, come on, guys. Okay. Ah, thank you, Joyce. It's right behind you, sweetie.
I just wanted to ask John Donahue.
No, I'm sorry. The question has to be addressed to both candidates.
Okay. If I'm out of order, then I will not.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I'll take this opportunity to remind you that the questions are directed to all of the candidates. We don't, at the Onset Protective League, single out any specific candidate, because what we're looking for is information as to how they will do the job, not personal situations or items. So, anyone with a question? Come on, put your thinking caps on. I can't. All right, thank you all. Thank you, Joe. Okay, it's 8 o'clock. How about we take 5 minutes and everybody gets some refreshments, and then we'll start with the selectmen's race in a few minutes. Okay, thank you.
Oh, come on.
They're not working. Your microphones. They're not working. They're not working. Her microphones are not working.
Issues. So you keep to the issues. Ow. And everyone has the ability to answer or not to answer a question. Questions will be directed to the Office of Selectmen, not to the individual committee. Okay? All right, I think we have sound. Thank you. Hello? Oh, double sound, okay. Obviously, this is the race that everyone's been waiting for, I hope. We have 6 people up here who are running for the Office of Selectmen. There are no incumbents, so what the OPL does is go alphabetically. And so Ellen will begin the introduction. She will have 5 to 7 minutes to introduce herself and talk about what she feels is important, and then each one of the candidates will be allowed the same. I ask that you hold your applause till the end, and then we will be asking questions. The questions are directed to the office. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Ellen Begley, and I want to be your next selectman. I want to tell you a little bit about myself. I was a seasonal resident since 1991, and I've been a full-time resident of Onset since 1995. I was the Civic Beautification Chair of the OBA in those early years. I'm a member of the Wareham Garden Club and had the pleasure of serving as the president of the Garden Club from 2006 to 2008. I've been a registered nurse for nearly 35 years. I've worked in state-of-the-art facilities, Children's Hospital in Boston, for 27 years. I've worked in primitive conditions in third world countries and Eastern Europe. I'm skilled at listening, researching, consensus building, prioritizing issues, formulating short-term and long-term goals in collaboration with multiple members of a team. The premise of teamwork and a team approach to formulate goals remains the same, despite the conditions or circumstances, for the best possible outcome for the project, or in my case, patient care. My chosen profession is about caring, and I care about Wareham. About a year and a half ago, I was having coffee with some friends who expressed disappointment with what seemed to be a lack of civility and respectful debate among some folks in Wareham. We all shared the concern about the ridicule, marginalization, and reputation smearing that some promoted in lieu of respectful debate. We decided we wanted to provide an opportunity for people to feel safe to express their opinions and discuss issues without fear of retribution. We dubbed our efforts Move Wareham Forward. Many expressed an interest in our mission of effective, transparent, and honest government, and as the group grew, the Political Action Committee, officially known as Move Wareham Forward, was formed. PAC is not a four-letter word. I think Move Wareham Forward has been very beneficial for the town. It's held 2 informational meetings that have been open to the public and attended by literally hundreds of people. We have also done community cleanup projects and participated in Stop the Violence, Increase the Peace rally. We have worked hard to understand the issues of the town and inform the residents so they can make informed decisions, be knowledgeable and active participants in the town meeting process, and express their opinions without fear. The Board of Selectmen serves as the chief policy-making agency of the town. They are responsible for the establishment of policy directives and guidelines to be followed by all town agencies serving under it, without attempting to be involved in the day-to-day. That, as we know, falls to the town administrator, appointed by the board. The Board of Selectmen is the licensing authority appointing authority, current road commissioners, and sewer commissioners. So what does that mean for you? What are your expectations of a selectman for Wareham? Approachability, availability, impartial enforcement of law and policies, sensitivity to the concerns of the citizens and taxpayers of Wareham. After all, we're entrusting our hard-earned tax dollars and governmental decisions that affect all of us to the discretion of our town government. How about a vision for the future? I can tell you what my vision is. I want to see all work towards consensus building. First, coming together as a community. Then I want to see us establish a current master plan. Don't misunderstand me. I don't mean throw it all out. I mean update the plan to issues facing us in 2011. The last one was written in 1998, and the one before that was 1976. A current plan would provide us with measurable goals, goals that can be reevaluated on an ongoing basis and redirected in a timely way should we drift off track. Many that serve Wareham as volunteers, elected and appointed, have done so with the best intentions for Wareham in mind. I believe the communication pathways between the committees, boards, and commissions has proved to be inadequate. Inadequate communication can result in the narrowing of the visual field and losing sight of the big picture. The Board of Selectmen must demonstrate cohesiveness, leadership, transparency, integrity, and respectful debate. As Selectman for Wareham, I would encourage that rather than rely on liaisons to bring back information, the board should meet with the chairman of all committees publicly and inclusively on a regular basis, and have the committees meet together to evaluate their collective efforts towards achievable goals based on the master plan at least annually. Interim Chief Stanley has demonstrated my point with great success and has done for the police department what I believe the Board of Selectmen should do for this town. He came and listened to the concerns, formulated a plan, implemented that plan, and validated the success of the men and women in his department. As Selectman for Wareham, I want to achieve the same measurable success. I want to bring consensus and purpose to the Board of Selectmen. I want other towns in southeastern Massachusetts to look to Wareham and say, I want what Wareham has. They worked together and achieved a successful and vibrant community. My name is Ellen Begley, and I'm asking you to vote for me on April 5th for Wareham Selectmen.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Donna Bronk, and I'm currently here looking for your vote as one of your next selectmen. I've lived in the town since 1968. Mr. Sylvia over there was one of my teachers. I graduated from 1970. He's also been one of my children's teachers and my grandchildren. But one of the things that Mr. Brusso was also one of my teachers, so he's older. But one thing I want to say is coming to Wareham was just a wonderful, wonderful experience for me. I can't tell you how different it was from coming from the Boston area down here. It was just nothing that I could ever explain. my parents, Elizabeth Carmichael, who has been deceased for over 30 years, and my dad, Frank Carmichael, were great examples to me. My mother served on the Board of Appeals, and she the minority report for the town charter. My dad served on the finance committee for several years, and I followed in my dad's steps. I don't belong to any particular party. I'm unenrolled. I'm not connected to anyone. I'm my own person and my own worst enemy sometimes. But I do love this town, and I have been on the FinCom now since, for the last 4 years. I currently chair the Finance Committee, and it's just such a great pleasure to be a part of that board. We work together, we disagree, and we go out and have a beer afterwards. Nothing is ever personal. But we work, and we work hard to try to resolve the current situation that this town is facing financially. We're not unique, but Wareham has its own set of problems that we have to sit down at the table and work hard collectively. And I believe that we're doing that. We work very closely with the school committee. And trust me, you'll never find a better dedicated group of men and women than you will find on your Wareham School Committee. I applaud them, and they're doing a marvelous job. And I would continue to support the job that they're doing and help them find the resources to continue doing them, because the children of Wareham are the biggest assets that this community has. We have to focus on them. I heard folks saying, well, what are you going to do about the dropout rate? And there's a lot of situations that people don't understand, that we have a large foster parents in our community. So we as a community have to deal with it financially also. With these children, a lot of extra special needs come, and it's our job to provide them. And I think we're doing a darn good job. We've got a major crisis that we're looking at now, and Barry and the FinCom and the school committee, Rhonda and Jeff, we're all sitting down together, and we're very civil, and we're hammering and making some very, very difficult decisions for our community. We understand the times are very poor economically, but we're looking for opportunities. Instead of throwing the blame, we need to find opportunity. We have to bring economic growth to the town of Wareham. We can't continue to make it difficult for people to come in and build homes in our community. We have to embrace them, and we have to welcome them, and we have to welcome business. So I am 100% behind bringing business to Wareham. And I am 100% behind what the school department in Wareham is doing. I see one of the other largest problems that I do see is safety here, and people are concerned with the safety, the crime. I think Chief Stanley's doing a good job, but I think this town deserves a full-time police chief. And I'm going to demand that. We need a full-time police chief. And we need it soon. We can't keep sitting on the fence. Either you take the job for what we can afford to pay you, or we move on to someone else. In my former life before I came retired, I was a regional property manager for inner city housing, affordable housing, and that's where I spent greater amount of over 30 years. I worked with immigrants from Somalia, the Dominican Republic, all over the world. I set up ESL courses for them. I set up the North Cambridge Crime Task Force. I was one of the founding members. So I've done a lot of work in the community, and I've done a lot of work on the Finance Committee. And I know that I am the most qualified person here to lead your community, our community, through these times. I ask that you go out and vote for me. I'm a no-nonsense type person. I'll listen. I believe that's very valuable. I will listen, and I am definitely going to dedicate, if I get elected, one morning a week to go into town hall to listen to citizens. I will be there, and I will listen to everyone, not a select group. I will listen to everyone. So again, I've done the tough decisions, and probably one of the toughest things I've ever done in my life is fight cancer, but I beat it. And I'm a fighter, and I will fight for you. Thank you very much, and I look forward to your vote.
Well, good evening, everybody. My name is John Cronin. As some of you know, I was a selectman a year ago, and I'm back at it. And the lesson that I learned speaks volumes about the people of Wareham. People of Wareham want a really hard-working person, an honest person, a fair person. And you've all heard the terms transparency and what have you. But I'll tell you, as a selectman for the 3 years that you had me in there, I learned a lot. And some mistakes were made and some positive things happened. I was very proud when we brought Mr. Andrews to town. And that's one of the reasons I want to get back into this, is experience pays. You know, I sat there for 3 years and I learned my lessons. I learned a bigger lesson losing last year, to work harder, to be the honest person that I know I am and that people know I am. So I think that you want an honest, fair guy, I'm your man. Nobody works harder than I do at anything when they put their mind to it. It was a difficult season for me last year. As some of you know, I was out of work for a while, almost lost my home. So I didn't work as hard at the end of last year as that I should have. And I'm here to tell you all and tell the people at home that I'm honest, I'm fair, and that's how I want to go down to be remembered, as an honest, fair guy. I'm interested in working with Mr. Andrews. You know, he started a team project in Town Hall. And the people in Town Hall are your biggest asset. They're leading us through these tough times. They're the ones dealing with the day-to-day complaints and problems and trying to make all these dollars that are being stretched work. So I think the team effort that was started, and just before I had left, I want to get back at that and support these people. There's good, hard-working people working for you. And like some of the other speakers have said, even the police department, you have some in-house qualified people. I think Chief Stanley's a fantastic guy. I'd like to see him here full-time. I think it's gone on too long. So I'll tell you, revitalizing downtown's another issue that I take to heart. I was on zoning years ago, and I saw the Community and Economic Development Director came up with a plan to revitalize downtown. It went by the wayside. It came back to light again a few years ago. It's gone by the wayside. Those businesses down there need our attention. They need our support. And I think that with 30 years in the construction business, I can lend some hand to seeing that happens. Community and Economic Development, just getting a full-time director in here and bringing business to town, promoting this town across the state. That's what we need. We need to advertise. The old saying, if you build it, they'll come. Well, if you tell people that you're looking for business, they'll show up. I had a meeting with one of the biggest developers in Wareham, and we talked about, building buildings and stuff that I do for a living. Well, how about bringing an insurance company or a marketing company or somebody downtown that has maybe a couple hundred jobs? Those jobs would be right here in Wareham. So I think community and economic development is vital. The financial situation is nationwide. It's nothing. It's not just Wareham. It's not just us that needs to pinch every dollar. I've admired Dr. Sylvia for 23 years, watching him at town meeting, and he hit the nail on the head. There's never enough money, and everyone's fighting for it. So support the people that work in your town, and support the businesses that are in your town, and help bring some business to town. And this town can't be beat. It is a jewel. It's a perfect crossroads to everywhere, and it should be promoted that way. You're 54 miles to Providence, you're 54 miles to Boston. I drive to Reading, Wakefield, Tewksbury to work, so there's no reason that people wouldn't drive to Wareham if the insurance company was here, or if the medical facilities are expanded like they're starting to be. These jobs are going to come to Wareham, and your tax dollars will be going up a little bit, and that's what you want to see, is the revenues come to your town. So I think that my lessons learned were work hard. That's what you want. You want it done. You don't want me to just say it. You want me to do it. So, thank you. So I don't really need 2 minutes now, but honest, fair, That's how I want to be remembered. Plain and simple. I want to work hard for you. I'm the independent candidate. I don't have any affiliations with groups or committees or what have you. I also am an unenrolled voter in town. So you want an independent, honest, experienced person? Put the experience back in there, and you'll see the hard work that I can do. And I look for your vote on April 5th. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Frank DeFelice, and I'm running for selectman. I'm a graduate of Wentworth Institute. My present position is the certified building commissioner for the town of Eastham. There I also am the assistant health agent, the ADA coordinator, and the zoning enforcement officer. Also, I'm president of the Eastham Employees Association, and I've negotiated the last 9 years, the last 3 contracts for the last 9 years. What I'm saying now is the reasons why I feel I'm qualified and I can help the town move forward. I'm also on the board of directors of the Southeast Mass Building Officials, and I'm also the vice president there also. I'm a board certified wastewater treatment plant operator. It's a 4M, and at the present time I operate the FAST system at the fire station in the town where I work. I'm Title V certified. I have a construction supervisor license, and actually I have a home inspection license too. I actually have a small home inspection business that I do now and then for a little extra income. I've been married 35 years to my wife Patty. I have 2 children, my son James, 33, and my daughter, 26. Let's see. Anyhow, I have 2 grandkids. My Dominic, he's 7 years old, and TJ's 11. One of my main qualities that would help the town is I used to be the selectman in the town of Milton for 5+ years. I know how town government works, not only being a selectman, but working for a town for the last 11 years. So I'm not going in as a novice, and I do believe that I'm the best qualified, because that's what I've been doing for the last 10 to 12 to 13 years, actually, working in town government and a past selectman. I'm a member of the Elks. It's actually in Eastham, but when I retire from there, which is fairly soon, I will join the Elks in Wareham. I'm a member of the Redmen in Wareham, though, and I did 6 years in the National Guard with honorable discharge. I know I can help the town of Wareham. I don't like what's been happening, and I don't want to turn negative, but I don't like what's been happening for the last 4 or 5 years in the town. I don't believe that the town has been moving forward in what's been going on. The number of department heads that have been let go, maybe some of them may have been deserving it, but they all couldn't have, because look where those jobs have ended up with some of them. They've had really good jobs. On the police chief, I really do think it's ridiculous to have somebody for, I guess, over a year coming from North Andover, and we're giving him the license, the car, and the gas to come from there and back. That's fine for a while, but when you negotiate a contract for a year and a half, I mean, over a year and a half, that belongs in the Guinness Book of Records, I think, because I've never heard of something being going on that long. But, and I'm not saying the guy's a bad guy either. You know, he's done some good work, but we don't need an electronic police chief, and that's what he is. He's there 1 day, sometimes 2 days. Now, again, he's done a good job, but he makes $134,000 in North Andover, 133 something. What is Wareham going to pay this fella? What does he want? I'm hearing he wants $145,000, $150,000. Do we have that kind of money to pay him? Now, again, I'm not saying he hasn't done a bad job, but you can't tell me that if a guy can do that by electronics, that we can't find somebody that's going to come in here with the same qualifications and do the same good job. 2 minutes? Mm-hmm. You know, some of the hiring practices have been going on, and this is the last part of the negative I'm going to go. But as being a building commissioner, I'm kind of surprised at how the practice went on the present building inspector that's working for the town. Well, I guess semantics has been used in that, because I guess they call him the inspector of buildings now. And so he doesn't really have to be certified. But the reason being why they hired him, and it was posted for $52,000, and they end up giving him $75,000, and they say he's the best one that was there. Well, who's going to put in for the job for $52,000? If they advertised it for $75,000, don't you think there's been a lot more qualified people putting it in? So anyhow, there's been good things going on. I know that they've got the lifeguards back, and I think that's a good thing. You know, I heard they put another gentleman back on the maintenance department. That's another good thing. So I'm not against, I'm not saying I'm against these things, but let's do things right. And I feel with my qualifications, my experience, that I could jump in there. I'm not inexperienced. I'm not going to be a novice. I can get in there, hit the field running, and believe me, there'll be changes if you vote me. Thank you.
Mark, Steve, we're getting a feedback up here. Could you check that, please? It's rather annoying. No, not you.
I just said.
Is there... Sure. Oh, thanks. Absolutely. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jennifer Peterson. I would like to ask everyone here tonight, how many people here volunteer on a board, on a committee, work in your churches, do other activities within the community that we live in? I know there's a lot of you. So I want to thank each and every one of you for all the work you do, because we all care about Wareham. That's why I am here tonight. That's why I want to be your selectman, because I want to use the skills I've learned over the years to help this community make progress to the future, to be in line with some state initiatives, to find out what's going on in other communities, see if we can use some ideas, bring them to Wareham, and see if they'll match into what we're doing here. Pretty much, people ask me, why are you running? Who are you? Where have you come from? We don't know who you are, so I'm going to give you a little bit of an overview. My name is Jennifer Peterson. I'm married to David Peterson, who's sitting back there. I have 2 children, Emma and Anthony, and I have 2 dogs, Finnegan and Jesse. I have been in Wareham for 7 years. I also am a deacon in the First Congregational Church. My fellow deacons are over there as well. So that is the current work that I do in the community now. We do a lot of grassroots work around helping with different groups like NA, AA, the Boys Clubs, the Girl Scouts, the Boy Scouts, so forth and so on. The reason I'm running for selectman is I have a lot of experience in program development, policy design, consumer needs analysis, and I love the town of Wareham. I do like it here. There's a lot of eclectic stores. The people are very welcoming. There's a lot of things to offer. There's a lot of cultural base here, and I believe my skills can be used to help us to make progress. Some of the key issues I think that need to be addressed is fiscal stability. We have a town that we do not have a great deal of fiscal stability. I know that we are in a recession, and it is a tough time right now, but it is a good time to start to make plans to save for the future, so that when we get to this position again, because it is an economic cycle, we'll always come back to this. It's a general law of economics, that we will be ready so we do not feel such devastating effects when there's cuts to local aid from the state and federal government. We need to increase our tax revenue base. So in order to do that, we need to have strong schools. People need to feel that we're safe in our community, that we have a good base to draw in people who want to build and buy higher valued homes, so that our tax base can be higher, that we can bring in some more businesses to not only provide jobs for people, but to pay into the tax base as well. I believe that the Rosebrook development is a nice initiative to complement our already healthcare industry that we have at Toby Hospital. And I'd like to see our career center build in with the Rosebrook Park development and find out what potential jobs there may be for the short term and the long term, and then set up our residents with training, skill development, and certifications so that they could take over jobs that are faster, such as phlebotomist or x-ray technician, and then to go on to enhance their career if they want to become nurses or nurse practitioners, so forth and so on, to build on what we're going to have as a resource in that development. To get back to the enhancing of the quality of our schools, it's imperative that we forge good relationships with our school committee and our school department so that we can continue to see our children prosper and grow. Above all, my major focus is the master plan. Our last master plan was edited in 1998. There was a lot of effort put into it. I've read it, the whole 128 pages of it. There's a lot of great ideas in there. And if you read it today, we're still working on some of those goals. 12 years later, going on the 13th year. I think it's critical that every single committee and every single board be given a copy of that master plan, that it sits on the chair's desk as they convene a meeting, and use that as the benchmark from which you determine how you're going to make decisions within your group. I do this type of training for organizations throughout the entire Commonwealth. And I like to do a very simple analogy. A pile of sand is a pile of sand. If you take out a piece of sand, it's still a pile of sand. A car is a system. And our community is a system. And if you take out the carburetor, the whole system's going to fall apart. It's the same idea. All the committees, all of our groups, our nonprofit organizations, so forth and so on, need to be in line with the same plan so that we work together for the same goal. And we cannot stay in task with that plan if we do not use it in the forefront of our everyday work, every time we meet as a committee. So just a little bit about my background of why I think I could do this for all of us. It's not me alone. It takes all of us. Just like we saw every one of you that volunteer, you'd have to continue all your hard work. I have a master's degree in public administration. I've been on statewide strategic planning committees. I've worked on statewide data-driven computer systems that are used throughout the Commonwealth right now. I've developed and executed alternative housing programs. I'm a certified public housing manager. I've worked with HUD, and I've also worked within the state on many different levels, and I have a vast knowledge of how to interpret and implement the Mass General laws, and that is critical on a day-to-day basis. So I want to ask each and every one of you for your vote, and I would appreciate and I would be privileged to work with each and every one of you to continue to make progress for Wareham. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me? My name is Mike Schneider, and first I would like to thank Nancy Miller, Ian Campbell, and the entire Onset Protective League for once again hosting Candidates Night. I'd also like to thank all of you for coming out to meet us, the candidates, and ask the important questions. I guess I'll start off by telling you a little bit about myself and my hope for Wareham. I have lived in Wareham for the past 20 years with my beautiful wife Sheila and 4 children, 2 boys and twin girls. I'm a licensed oil burner technician and a certified occupancy specialist and a tax credit specialist. I was the president of Mission Hill Health Movement, Mission Park Corporation, Restoration Housing Corporation, and RTH Community Housing Corporation. I was appointed to many citizen advisory committees that oversaw large-scale institutional projects, including new state-of-the-art facilities for Beth Israel Deaconess Hospital and Children's Hospital. I'm a current member of the Wareham Affordable Housing Trust. I was a member of the Wareham School Transportation Subcommittee, and I'm a proud member of Move Wareham Forward, an organization whose mission is to work toward having good, honest, ethical, and transparent government. I was the Chief Executive Officer of Roxbury Tenants of Harvard, which gave me 20 years' experience working with many boards, government officials, businesses, and community stakeholders. In that role, I learned what a community is capable of achieving when people work together to accomplish common goals. As a CEO, it was my responsibility to accomplish many community projects that reflected the needs of the people I served. That required working with many people with very different views and needs, and it required bringing them together on the issues. These projects resulted in creating and preserving hundreds of desperately needed friendly affordable housing units and bringing health, wellness, educational programs, and job opportunities to the people I served. I was in responsible charge of 60 employees, the day-to-day operation of 1,000 units of housing, 350,000 square feet of commercial space, 3 acres of underground parking, a daycare center, an after-school program, a private library, a computer learning center, programs for seniors, and many programs that provided activities that expanded the educational, cultural, and social experiences of the neighborhood youth. I forged a partnership between Brigham and Women's Hospital and the residents of a community that paved the way for the Carl J. Shapiro Center for Advanced Medicine. I also worked to create a public-private partnership that will result in a 70,000 square foot, desperately needed treatment center for the Mass Department of Mental Health at no cost to the taxpayers. The reason those projects were successful was because people sat down to figure out how to accomplish them. People sat down and respectfully discussed how to make those projects and programs work. Folks didn't always agree on all the issues or on how to get to the end result, but we were able to work things out because people were willing to cooperate and communicate. And that was where the real success was. That is what we need to do in Wareham. We need to communicate and cooperate openly with each other and leave the negativity at the door. Wareham left the negativity at the door during the National Night Out event and the recent Increase the Peace rally. Those two events are examples of the successes that we can achieve when private citizens, public officials, and businesses work together to make something positive happen for Wareham. As a selectman, I will work to open the lines of communication and try to bring Wareham together to address the issues. We need to collectively work on the challenge of maintaining quality services for our town within our established budget, and we need to work to increase revenues and put money aside for a rainy day. That's a real challenge in today's difficult economic climate. I was in charge of a $16 million operating budget that supported a significant real estate operation and the expansive social services programs I mentioned earlier. And I will put that experience to work and collaborate with the Finance Committee and all of the other town committees to develop a plan that addresses the concerns of the taxpayers, that is consistent with the agricultural and coastal characteristics of Wareham, and consistent with what the town can afford. We are very fortunate that we live in a town with a beautiful coastline that still offers many of the outdoor activities that I enjoyed during the time I spent here as a child. Our natural resources are what make Wareham special. Those natural resources are mainstays of our quality of life and our local economy, and we must act as responsible stewards to protect them while working collectively with all the town's boards to attract new businesses that increase revenue, to support the services we need and add to our quality of life. My name is Mike Schneider, and I would appreciate your vote on April 5th. Thank you.
Okay, who wants to ask the first question? Oh, come on. Okay, Liz. Oh, all right, Pat, and then Liz. Oh, I'm sorry, Eddie.
Good evening, Eddie Pasevich. I'd like to ask the candidates if they support or oppose the nitrogen net zero bylaw that was passed this past fall.
Eddie, I'm sorry. You can't ask specifically how they would vote
I'm not
because
asking.
that's coming up at town meeting, so that would be an issue. But if you want to ask how they feel about nitrogen and the issues in Wareham, you can phrase it that other way.
Okay, I'd like to ask the candidates if they support any endeavors to reduce nitrogen in Wareham and why.
Okay, thank you. I will allow that. Because there are no incumbents, we will start alphabetically again, so Ellen gets first, but then the next microphone. Okay. Mark. Okay. All right. The second question will go to Donna first.
Well, I support any endeavor that would reduce the nitrogen in our watershed, and I particularly appreciate the work that you've done, Mr. P, because sewer users are paying to reduce nitrogen in our watershed, and I'd like to see that the same expense goes to the developers and the cranberry farms for putting it back in.
Okay. I don't support the current nitrogen bylaw that is coming. I support the new one that's coming in to overturn the first one, because I believe that we should listen. The estuary report is not even out. There are a few individuals that are putting the fear of God into everybody about the nitrogen zero thing. We are not in any way near as we are moving forward. We are soaring. We are way ahead of schedule. We need to listen to the experts. And once the experts come and tell us what we need to do, then we should do it. We shouldn't be jumping the gun ahead of the experts. We need to listen.
Okay, to John.
Well, I'm in favor of any endeavor, and quite frankly, I'm in favor of what we have until we see what people come up with that could possibly better that. But to answer your question, sir, I'm quite in favor of it. Something needed to be done. Something was done. Endeavors, actions were taken, and I'm in favor of those. However, if somebody comes up with something better, we'll all sit down at the table and take a look at it. But to answer your question, I'm in favor of something, and it needed to be done, and I appreciate your efforts as an individual and the other members of those boards and panels that came up with trying. So I think moving forward, if someone has a better idea, I'll listen. But until then, sir, I'm in favor of what we have.
I guess they're answering your question anyway. It is.
Well, I feel I can speak pretty outright on this because I happen to have my waste treatment plant operator's license. And I don't know of any system out there that is zero nitrogen. There is none. So I can't say that I could be in favor of this one. I'd be in favor of something like that maybe, but not the one that's out there now. And I heard down the end, I said down the end, she says about cranberry bogs. Well, let me tell you, they get a thing on the Cape on what is the worst that's going, and it's the residential properties that are polluting more than anything else. And so that could be going on here in Wareham too. So don't be blaming the cranberry people for this thing. So again, I say that I'm not in favor because there is no system that can come up with zero nitrogen.
When the original one, can anyone hear me? When the question was rephrased around why you may be in favor or not in favor, I am in favor of efforts to have cleaner water. I live on Blackmore Pond. There's been a lot of collaboration between the Blackmore Pond homeowners, the UMass Cranberry Station, and the cranberry growers of the area worked collaboratively to develop a method for that pond to be revitalized. In relation to the bylaw, the warrant article, I think that is maybe a little too extreme for where we need to be at this time. But I do know there needs to be efforts, as I have personally experienced on Blackmore Pond, because our pond is now beautiful. We have fish again. We have all the bugs and the insects that are supposed to be back from a collaborative effort between the growers, the residents, and the UMass Cranberry Station. Those are the initiatives that I would be in favor of. Collaboration. Thank you.
I support all reasonable efforts to reduce nitrogen in our waters. Nitrogen in our waters. We've known about nitrogen impairment of our waters for a very long time. We've tried to pass nitrogen bylaws several years in a row, unsuccessfully. Nitrogen in our waters affects our economic stability because we rely heavily on our coastal characteristics for the town. It's impacting our shellfish, and I fully support all reasonable efforts.
Next question is over here.
All right, I'm on. Hi, I'm Pat Romney. What steps would you take to bring together a sense of community in Wareham to allay the fears and mistrust that always keeps brewing?
Well, first of all, I take out my papers and run for selectman. Okay? I did that. Second of all, I would continue to foster these ad hoc groups to work on these very special projects that are affecting us financially, and working together. And I believe we've made some steps forward in that, and respecting one another for what they do. Just because I don't agree with you, I might not agree with the current nitrogen thing, doesn't mean I don't respect the people and what they're doing to try to resolve the issue. And doesn't mean that we don't recognize that we have a problem, but we need to just work together. And I would lead by example. And I try to live my life that way, and I would be a good leader and a good hard worker and a good listener.
Thank you. Communication. I think if everybody sits at the table and talks, again, someone says they disagree with you, that doesn't mean you don't sit at the table and talk to them. So really simple, Pat, communication amongst the Board of Selectmen, among every board and committee out there. Come and sit at the table. I had said it before. Come and sit at the table and put your ideas out there for everybody instead of private little groups. So communication.
Pat, I wasn't going to say what I'm going to say now, but you just brought it out on me. This is the third time I'm running, and the reason being is because of that question right there. I just don't like what's been going on in the town. I work for a municipality. I know how government should run. I said the things that they've done, this computer audit, was a joke. Nobody, who's it? Excuse me, but...
No, guys,
this gentleman over here.
hold your thoughts.
Yeah, would you please? See, I didn't even say anything bad. The computer audit was a joke. Again, it's cost almost $100,000. I know it's over $60,000. So what have they come up with? Not one person that's been laid off. Not one person gone to jail. This is the stuff that should not be going on in the town. And that's why we have what Pat just said. Things like that. Maybe this gentleman over here can speak after I get done, because, he's not happy. Maybe he was happy with the computer audit, but I'm not. And some of the other things, the way they hire people, I'm not happy with that. Now, I don't want to put a complete negative on it, but those are the things that I would be doing, and work with the people that are there. Let the department heads loose. They're the ones who know what to do, and they know how to run the town more so than anybody else. Give them a little rope, and let's not have any backstabbing, and let's not have any talking behind people's back. Let's be open, and that's what I'd like to be, and I will be open, believe me.
Okay.
I bring it all back to the master plan. When you do planning and policy development for your community, you do it with your community. The ideal plan is done with all the groups in the community. For the youth, for the schools, for the elder, for the police department, for people that need social services, for people that may have drug and alcohol issues, for community and economic development, for community planning, low-income housing. That plan contains what the whole town wants. So therefore, when you're working with your groups and your committees, you help them to see that this is what the town wants. So it's not based on who initiates something or when something gets initiated, but is it in line with our plan? All of my years of experience in senior management team building has always been you have to listen to the people on the doing the day-to-day work. As a selectman, it's not my role to decide on behalf of the town what you all want. I have to get out there, talk to you, walk down the streets of Main Street of Wareham, walk down Onset Ave, down in Onset. This is what I've been trying to do as I'm doing my candidacy, is talking to different people, different groups, the CRN, Turning Point, different businesses, to find out what Wareham wants the community to be. And that is what you use when you talk and you try to sit in groups with people, so that it doesn't become a personal issue. It is this plan in line with what the residents of Wareham want and what our businesses need to grow and prosper? Thank you.
I think I agree with John. The first step is communication. I think I touched upon a little bit in my opening statement that, we need to check the negativity at the door. We absolutely have to work together as a community. And the first step actually is sitting down at the table and starting to talk to one another. An open, and honest, and transparent government is actually key to doing that. We need to make people feel included as part of the process. I've been a part of a community that was very successful in working together, and Wareham is capable of so much more, and it really all does boil down to communication.
As I understand your question, Pat, was it you wanted to know what to bring the community together, and I absolutely agree with many of the thoughts that were expressed here. However, one of the thoughts that I don't agree with is emphasizing the negatives. I think the negatives can be an anchor and hold Wareham back. We need to be forward-thinking. We need to be able to have someone that is going to listen. Everybody needs to be heard. Everybody in this room wants to be heard, but they also need to have the opportunity to listen to everybody. I can't understand how this wonderful community does not come together. We all need to kind of put aside differences sometimes. Sometimes we have to agree, sometimes we have to disagree. But to come together just means to be heard. And I was listening to some businesses. There are some businesses that are you for business? Absolutely, I'm for business. How do I help you succeed? By making Wareham a destination. By having people, I can't even tell you how popular there are certain businesses are, and others are struggling because they're seasonal businesses. We need to somehow come together as a community, come together, put aside our differences, and absolutely work together to make Wareham the best it possibly can be.
Thank you. Next question. Over here, Lynn. You put this back in here. Ted, over here.
Lynn Burrows, 17th Ave. How many selectmen's meetings have you all attended in the last year?
I've attended 2, and I've watched the rest of them.
And how long, Lynn? I didn't say here. The last year, maybe 3, and watched every single one of them.
Okay.
I've attended 2, and I also watched them as well.
I've been attending the Board of Meetings regularly for the last couple of years, and this past year I think I've probably missed 1 Board of Selectmen's meeting.
In the last year, I think I've missed 2, possibly 3 in the last year.
I've attended several, and I've watched several. I couldn't tell you how many, though.
How many of you watched the selectmen's meeting? Everybody raise your hand. Look at this. See, one of the best watched shows in town. Yes, there are a couple that go all the time. All right. Next question, please. Over here to Liz. Frank, you'll take it first.
Oh, okay.
Liz McDonald. There's several projects going on in town for economic growth, and I was wondering if any of you had experience in bringing businesses, economic growth, industrial growth to Wareham.
Well, I haven't brought any industrial growth to Wareham, but I'll tell you one thing. Wareham is blessed with what they got. I'll tell you right now, I don't think that, and I know there's not a town on the Cape, and probably off the Cape, that has the commercial development, the malls, and the residential development that's going on in this town. That's why I don't understand why we're behind in the red, like $1 million, with having that. But with that said also, I'd like to say one thing I did when I was a building inspector. When I was a selectman in Milton, we actually bought a piece of land, the selectmen did, and because we had quite a bit of land that the town owned, and we actually put an industrial park in. We paid a contractor to put the road in, and we sold the lots off to different contractors. So I'm not a novice at doing something like that, but I know a town shouldn't be involved in that type of thing. But we were a small town, and it was a way to get money. So I just think commercial in Wareham is unbelievable.
I'd have to say that commercial development is not an area of expertise for myself. I would rely on and would like to see the position of Community and Economic Director to be filled with a consistent person so that that person could go out and do an analysis of Wareham and find out what businesses would complement what we have now. We have a great arts community that seems to be flourishing and growing within the Onset area. I do believe that the Rosebrook development, we could find some manufacturing type jobs that may complement that. Worcester right now has the handle on that arena, but those manufacturing jobs such as biotech in different industries that complement the medical field do pay higher than typical manufacturing if that's an avenue that the residents do want to explore or not. And again, I would really rely on the expertise of a community economic director that we need to put in place for our town to grow. Thank you.
Although I don't have any experience bringing businesses to Wareham, I do have extensive experience bringing a number of businesses to 350,000 square feet of commercial space, and also developing properties for commercial use. But I agree with Jennifer. I think that one of the priorities needs to be filling the Community Economic Development Director position. And I think that we, as the Board of Selectmen, we should also work with the Wareham Village Association and the Onset Bay Association to encourage infill of existing businesses or vacant parcels to help the existing businesses succeed.
Short answer, no. I have to agree with some of the people that have spoken up here. We absolutely need to have a permanent seated director. I believe that the one that we have in place now is part-time. I have spoken to a number of people that sit on the CETA board. They are working very, very hard trying to bring in different development, different stores, different any kind of improvement of the empty storefronts. It breaks my heart to see these empty storefronts in Onset. Onset can be so much more. I mean, there was just a few years ago that it was thriving. There wasn't a single vacant storefront. And it seems that we've done just a little bit of backsliding, and I'd like to see that stop and to definitely move forward. So a permanent seated director is absolutely crucial for any kind of advancement for any part of the town of Wareham.
I haven't brought anything to Wareham, but I have been a part of development team that has brought a community health center into Roxbury with 72 condos and 16 townhouses. And I've also been a part of developing a 258,000 square foot building that was occupied by genetics that did a lot of work in the drug advancement. That was their headquarters, our building. And I was involved in a developing a shopping center in Groton, Connecticut.
Thank you. To answer no, I haven't brought any development to Wareham. On the zoning board years ago, I was very fortunate to be part of the hearings on the mall that came to town. I was proud of some of the conditions that were put on it. As a selectman, I sat through watching the process on the Rosebrook, and look at how nice that's turning out. But no, I haven't brought any to it. As I said earlier, somebody to promote the town. The other candidates have all told you we need a seated director, which I mentioned in the beginning. If we don't promote the town, bring someone in to do that, then it's going to be just the in-house developers that are trying that are struggling right now. If you promote it statewide, you'll get some more people to come down here and try and expand. But you have to be careful with expansion. I work for the 4th biggest real estate company in the world, and if you want to expand, they will expand. I do all high-rise. You really don't want all high-rise in Wareham. So I haven't brought anything here to town, but 30 years in the construction business, I know development. And if we get a good director and a good positive promotion of this town, I think you can see some great things happen.
Okay. Next question. Okay, 2 on this side. I don't know who was first. Okay, Jen, you're first.
Mike Flaherty. I'm hearing tonight people say that, Wareham is this jewel and it's this gem and this is a special place on the Cape. But then I also hear them saying the same thing, that they're tripping all over themselves to want to develop it. That's what it sounds like to me. What sort of development would you support? What do you envision as promoting for development in Wareham? Thank you.
Well, one of the first areas I think that would be a nice development area would be to build within the onset area some of the cultural center that's there is still in its working of being developed, but that would complement some of the arts that are being developed down in onset, as well as the opening of the potential new library, to try to create some foot traffic so people can walk around, not just go to the beach. There's other areas of development in which, if you look downtown, there's a lot of revitalization going on, but there's not a lot of stores yet. I mean, there's some new businesses in there, but what creates foot traffic? So what are ways? I saw down in Onset, for example, there's now the Eye of the Goddess that does the pottery classes. That's going to create people to come in. There's some more coffee shops. So when we have this seasonal boom, once the summer people come, we want to try to promote some businesses that are going to create people to walk around, see what Onset has to offer, see what Wareham has to offer. I spoke to some people in the Onset, the OBA, regarding the Massachusetts government website offers a link around tourism and travel, and we are not on there. There's 3 initiatives that I know that our state rep had put on there, which is Onset Beach, Edaville Railroad, and another activity within our region. But we don't have anything about Illumination Night or our festivals or any of the great things that our town does do. So it's not all about development. A lot of it's about promotion and about people feeling that they want to come to Wareham, that it's safe, they want to attend some of these things. So to educate people that we have free resources out there, that they can put our information out there, so when people are surfing the internet, for example, to find out where they may want a vacation, these activities come up so that we can increase the foot traffic within our community. That'd be one idea.
I think, from my perspective, for the same reasons that the gentleman asked the question, I'm also concerned about development in Wareham. We need to make sure that it is consistent with the character of our community. And I think that we have already identified certain areas in the master plan for more larger scale development, in particular public-private partnerships. And I think that development in Onset Center and Wareham Center has to be consistent with the character of, a Victorian seaside village. I remember as a kid, being able to walk down Main Street and visit the Five and Dime. I'd like to see some things like that come back to the community on Main Street in Wareham. And I remember the mini shops up in Onset, going up with my family and grabbing some clam cakes and sitting on the beach fishing. And for those two areas, that's the vision that I continue to see for those areas. I also think that those two areas with the wonderful beach resources in Bessie Park create a wonderful opportunity to create some joint ventures between both the Onset Village Association and the Wareham Village Association to work collaboratively to bring in some, event for the community that would draw people in. Wouldn't it be nice if we had some sort of Christmas event that we ran a train or a shuttle back and forth between the villages? And I think that that's the kind of development that I in Wareham. I also think Can you hear me? Okay. I also think that a $30 million investment in the train coming to Cranberry Highway would be a terrific investment in our community. I think that, the building of malls in that area, and someone mentioned before that, I think it was John, mentioned before that we're 50 miles, I thought 55, John, 55 miles from Boston, approximately 55 miles from Providence, and approximately 55 miles from Provincetown.
15 seconds.
And I think that we could certainly capitalize on that. We should be the hub. There's no reason for people to be going over the bridge to go to beaches and visit shops.
I think the question was about development and losing the seaside atmosphere of our beautiful town. I don't think that we necessarily have to build anything. We have a lot to do before we even consider building more. There are empty storefronts. Staples, how long has that been empty? The storefronts are emptying out over in East Wareham. We need to make that another destination, so why not develop those, attract more businesses? I've spoken to people, I would love to see a Trader Joe's or Whole Foods or something like that over there. That would be totally awesome. Then we have all these, where the Blues Cafe was, empty. It's empty over there. We have just a couple cafes. We have a sandwich shop that's still trying. We need to kind of improve the facade of what we have, which is also development. Improve the facade of downtown Wareham. I think that most of the businesses there would love to have kind of the facade that we see in Sandwich on 6A or in Falmouth or some of those beautiful villages that are, shopping villages that are down by the harbor. So I don't think that development has to be building a high-rise or building another building or another huge development or another Wareham crossing. I think that we can develop what we have. We already have the resources here. They're there. There's parking lots. Let's use what we have, and I personally would love to have a Trader Joe's.
Could I intercede here for a second? There's a lot of feedback up here from all the folks having discussions out. So please hold your thoughts and listen to what our
candidates say. I guess I would like to see some technology up at the industrial. Yeah, no pun intended here. But I'd like to see some technology jobs. I'd like to see maybe some research with the new facility. I'd like companies like Genetics, Wyeth, those type of companies to come in here to do research. I'd like to see some good, high-paying jobs. I don't want to see seasonal jobs only. I want my grandchildren and my children to be able to make their living here in Wareham and not have to travel to Boston like I did all those years. So that's what our teaching institutions are something, but I want to see the opportunity for something to grow.
Thank you. Speaking of development, I happen to build buildings, but that's not where I was heading. But if I was, if you take a look right next to the police station, I think it's the Cabela's buildings, nice brick building, like 2.5, almost 3 stories. That would be the biggest thing that I'd want to really see put in here. I know there's a couple of landowners across from the police station talking about a small commercial building. I don't know if any of you drink coffee, but Keurig, the coffee, you know, the single pot, I do all their corporate work. I just did 100,000 feet for them. They're out of space. They're in Reading. I said, you know, got a beautiful little town. I'd like to get you down here. I talked to Liberty Mutual this morning. They're looking to move 150 people out of, I think it's Framingham or Shrewsbury out that way. Why not Wareham? Well, that's the type of development I was thinking of. If you could bring in a company, whether it's big or small, but they might have 50 to 100 to 150 employees. Well, guess what they're going to do for lunch? They're going to go downtown. They're going to go to whatever stores that you have. That's the type of development that I thought when we hired a CETA director there a few years back. He spoke about bringing companies in. Now, exactly, someone mentioned the Staples building. Well, you know, you got to get a hold of that landlord and see what they want to do with it. A lot of things can be developed into that, office space or stores or whatever. But you've got to try and bring some companies here. The industrial park that you have one on each side there, there's no real business, no real commercial businesses with 100 employees. Not that I want hundreds and hundreds of employees, but someone asked me this morning about a tax rate. Well, why don't you split the rate and let the commercial pay more? Because you don't have that much commercial to offset it. The price of a pizza would go sky high. So the thing is, if you could bring someone in, a development director, and bring a Liberty Mutual, a Commerce Insurance. Look at Fidelity, just moved, 1,400 jobs out of the state. You can't let them go. You got to get them in. But the town would be, we have some areas of town that would take 100 employees. There's some spots in these industrial parks or buildings there that could be rehabbed and put them in it. Or if you wanted to build a building, that one, I think it's a Cabela's building. He builds a nice looking building. That would be the size development that I'd like to see for Wareham as far as a new building. But you've got to get the jobs here. Then the storefronts would be full because they'd have people there to support them. Thank you.
I agree with Jennifer and I agree with Ellen. Jennifer, on the beaches, they're underused. And with Ellen on East Wareham. And what I would do, you know, I hear on TV, the selectmen meetings, that there's a leadership team. Well, what I would do is put this leadership team to 2 things. Get them going on the beaches, get them going on East Wareham. Number 1, Walmart is wanting to go out to West Wareham by the mall. Well, I think I would mandate that they get that building filled or not move. That would be my say, period. You don't go down there unless you fill that building. And then maybe ask them to fill the Staples building too. They got the people that can do it. And then again, get this leadership team. All I hear is continuing this leadership team. They continue next week, they continue next week. I ain't never heard what they're going to be doing. So why don't we get them on those 2 projects?
Did you have this,
Okay. Ted, we have Bob down here. Oh, I'm sorry, Jack was first.
Jack Silva, 8 Diners Way. There are ongoing talks about several 500-foot offshore wind turbines in Wareham. Could all of you just let me know what your feelings are on that?
Thank you, Jack.
have to be honest, I wasn't aware that there was 500-foot turbines coming offshore of Wareham. I do know that I'm opposed to the wind turbines that are going to be placed or attempting to be placed within the community now. I don't believe that our bylaw is sufficient to protect the community from the impacts associated with wind farms. I always found myself, I was originally a proponent of alternative forms of energy, particularly wind farms, until I started reading about the effects and the economic impact on real estate values. So I can only answer as far as the wind turbines that would be being placed within the community.
I wasn't aware of the offshore turbines either, but I did attend that the ZBA meeting last night regarding the wind turbines proposed for the Blackmore Pond area. I guess what was heartbreaking to me was listening to people who are surrounded by those turbines. People who live in Illinois that are surrounded by those turbines, and that quality of life has definitely been compromised. What I would ask, we keep hearing back and forth, there's hours and hours and hours from the opposition, then there's going to be hours and hours and hours from the proponent. Why aren't we sitting here in black and white? What are the pros of this project? What are the cons? Who's benefiting from this? And who may have to pay the price for that benefit? I personally am opposed to the wind turbines. I believe that this is going to be energy that's going, they say, oh, it could supply energy to 20,000 homes. Those won't be 20,000 homes in Wareham. That energy will be sold back into the grid, and then at quite a cost. Then it will be an extreme cost to any consumer that wants to use it. Do we need alternatives to fossil fuel? Absolutely. But I don't think that industrial-sized turbines that will affect the value of people's homes, and that was definitely discussed last night, affected to the biggest asset that most of us own, down 25%, with wind shear, etc. So I would definitely vote against that.
I'm definitely opposed to the current proposal of the size of the wind turbines. They're clumsy. They just don't belong in the areas that they're proposing. I wouldn't have a problem sticking them out in the ocean somewhere, but I don't want them in the neighborhood. They're too large, and the only one's going to benefit from them is the landowner who's going to land the lease. None of us are going to benefit from it. We're going to reap any benefits from this, so I'm opposed to it.
Thank you. I happen to be one of the 3 abutters on Charge Pond Road that were notified that they were going to go in. I think next to the attorneys from Blackmore Pond Road, I'm one of the biggest opponents. I've attended every meeting, and actually at 11:15 last night I got to speak on it, and it's continued to May 11th. It's a tax credit thing. Perspective, 328 feet to the power hub. It's a 32-story building. And then the blade that goes beyond that goes to 492 feet. That's a 49-story building. I'm from the city of Boston originally. I worked on the Harbor Towers flooring years and years ago. Does anybody know the Harbor Towers in Boston? They're the 2 big buildings behind the aquarium. The blade of the turbine, as it spins, would be taller than those buildings. If you took the sweep area of the turbine, and you see that commercial on TV where they drop the orange drape over all the buildings and stuff, and if you put an orange drape over the blades and it swept, and you looked at the Harbor Towers, you wouldn't see them. It's that wide. The turbine that's down at Mass Maritime, from the ground to the top of the blade as it spins and reaches the top, the one blade on the ones that they're proposing for Wareham is the same height as that, just the blade. So I'm against it. It's not an in my backyard thing. As I started to fight this proposal, the applicant withdrew one of the turbines that was 1,900 feet from my home. He said, well, we'll withdraw that without prejudice. And he withdrew one from the Blackmore Pond Road area. However, the bylaw that was written, and by the way, that applicant helped write that when the school department was talking about a turbine years ago, so it's the same individual. I'm sorry, the project is for sale. It's tax credit. So as soon as he got a permit, he's out anyway. Less than 1% of the energy that's proposed would go to the Cranberry Association, the growers. The other 99% would be sold. There is no energy going to be for the town of Wareham. To answer your question, sir, I'm against 492-foot structures in the town of Wareham. Thank you.
I, too, am against. I'm not against alternative energy, but I think these things are already outdated already. You talk about the ones that are going out in the ocean. They're saying that if they end up going out there, it's going to cost taxpayers money. It's not going to reduce our energy bill. It's going to increase it. So I don't see, and in this one here, they say it's going to get 200,000, I think, to the town, but they're not showing it. But so yeah, they belong somewhere, but I'm not sure. Maybe like Donna said, out there in the ocean somewhere.
As a Blackmore Pond resident, it would be in my backyard. So I have had the opportunity to hear information from both sides, and I will concur with the rest of the candidates that I too would be opposed to the velocity of this project being in my backyard.
All right. Bob has a question and choice. Maybe back to you at the beginning.
Thank you. I find it quite interesting that the majority of our discussion this evening for the selectmen has been about development, whether it's structural or alternative energy. As one person, I would like to ask of some assurances, as I see Wareham's concerns. Our reputation as a community, the name Wareham, I believe has been significantly compromised over the last several years. And as I've observed it, the majority of that compromise has been, in my opinion, because of a lot of decision making. What? Well, I'm getting there. I want assurances, and so I'm trying to paint the picture so that I can ask the question, because the assurances really need to come across the board, and that is, we've made some poor decisions, in my opinion. I think we've had a significant lack of accountability. There is a question. I want to know what assurances that any one of you can give us, the citizens of Wareham, that you are going to be accountable, you are going to adhere to the charter as the oath of office that you take. I haven't been rude to anybody, and I think this is really uncalled for, Nan, excuse me. And most importantly, the leaders of our community, in my opinion again, have significantly interfered with the operations of running our community. So, as leaders, isn't it interesting who's defending themselves? We're going to hold our applause till I'm done. Thank you.
This is why I do not like live TV. All right, y'all are going to behave. I will ask that any preamble to a question is held to a relatively short amount of time. Bob, I appreciate you needing to set up your question, but I need to ask you to move forward with it.
Okay.
Okay.
So the question is, what assurances can you give us, Wareham residents, that
You will restore the reputation of our community, bring back the accountability, and work with the most valuable resource aside of the natural ones, and that is the people of the community, and allow them the opportunity to serve all of us.
All right. Well, I would love to take assurances. I'd love to guarantee that that's going to happen, and that I will do work as hard as I possibly can for consensus building. I absolutely believe that the Board of Selectmen needs to present itself as a team. And it's a team for Wareham. And it's a team that is Wareham. It's the fact that we're in the position of leadership. We would be in a position to absolutely be approachable to any citizen in the town of Wareham. And I think that the reputation for Wareham needs to be changed in how we can disagree. We can choose how we disagree. We can certainly choose how we agree and how we move forward from any situation. But I think that I think that the Board of Selectmen has to be the example. I think that we have to present a unified force, have consensus building, certainly disagree in a very respectful, civil way, come to a conclusion that benefits the greatest number of the citizens in Wareham. And I don't know if that answers your question, Bob, or not.
Well, I would lead the same way I live my life. I would treat people the way I want to be treated. I wouldn't treat people for who side they're on, who they're voting for, or you're a Democrat, so I'm going to be a Democrat. I'm going to be me. I'm going to be an individual, and I'm going to do what's fair. And I'm never, and if I do make a mistake, and I do say something stupid, and I do have a tendency to do that on occasion, I'm going to be big enough to apologize. I'm going to say, hey, look, I'm sorry. And I'm going to try to be sensitive to everyone, but I am going to speak my mind respectively.
Thank you. I can assure you, sir, and everybody else in the room and on TV, I will be accountable. I will stand up for Wareham. I am an independent thinker. I have made mistakes, but I have been a stand-up guy and stood up and said I was wrong, apologized to people for saying stupid things, nasty things, personal things. There's no more of that. So yes, I can give you assurances as a man that I will work as hard for this town as I has, I think, 15 years as a volunteer on boards and committees. So yes, I can give assurances that I will promote the town properly, use the charter properly, every board and committee properly, and I think that's what the people want. It's simple. You want a hard worker, an honest hard worker, and I assure you, each and every one of you, I'm that guy.
I know I can work with the board that's in there right now. I also know how to work with people because I work for a municipality. So I know how people should be treated, and I don't believe they've been treated right. So I have no vendettas against anybody. I don't want to clean house with anybody. I can assure you that there won't be things going on like the ridiculous computer audit again.
First and foremost, I must state that the role of selectmen is to be a representative of the people. The very foundation of public stewardship is to ensure that the policies developed reflect the needs and the desires of the whole group for which it is intended to serve. So to answer your question, I believe I have the skills and experience that would be beneficial in nurturing greater collaboration between the selectman's office, the town administrator, the school committee, and local businesses and organizations to develop an integrated team that can come to consensus. This is critical to foster the leadership necessary for the residents of Wareham to prosper and the town to be recognized as a valued community. We need to have a good public image. We need for other communities to recognize us as a valued community worth spending their money, building their businesses here, visiting our stores and being patrons, and foremost, develop other job opportunities. As a public employee now, I believe that I'm a punctual, honest, and an ethical public servant that will fight hard for the town of Wareham and its constituents.
Bob, would you mind repeating your question? I didn't quite hear you. No. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I think clearly as selectman and someone, I believe that a selectman has to listen to the people. I think that, my background in community development and working for a tenants organization, I understand the importance of listening to people. Not only listening, but actually hearing people's differing opinions. But I think really what the bottom line comes down to is it is cooperation and communication. And I think that we're all obligated by Mass General Law, the town charter, the bylaws, to uphold a certain standard of conduct for selectmen. And I would endeavor to uphold that standard of conduct to the best of my ability.
We're having a terrible feedback with the microphone up here, Mark. I don't know if you can do something, but this is beyond annoying. Now it works. Okay, who's next? Who answered the question?
I'm afraid I have an unpleasant subject to offer. In the past few weeks, we have all been keeping tuned to what has happened in Japan. And unfortunately for us, our power plant over in Plymouth has been mentioned along with Roe Yankee on the Massachusetts-Vermont border. I just wanted to, I couldn't not have it be a question as to looking at our plans for our town and how it works. Have any of you looked at what that includes?
Second in the country, most dangerous nuclear plant. You're the next town over. Well, I'd like to have a copy of the evacuation plan. That would be first. But I think it's given us all a lot of thought. What's transpired over the last week and a half. I worry about it, and I would make sure that our town does have a good. Our emergency response. I mean, we have it. We have to live with it, but we can make sure that our town is prepared for an emergency, and whether it be evacuation or an emergency situation, and how would we deal with it? Would we have the supplies in stock for the iodine pills or whatever it is that they need to issue folks? And do we have a plan to evacuate if we need to evacuate? It's a very serious, I didn't mean to make a joke of it, but a good evacuation plan, I think, is key. And I think we learned it with Katrina here in the United States. I mean, we didn't have a good operational plan. And I think a good solid plan to deal with a nuclear disaster is key. And I would love to see that for sure. And I would like to see make sure that our emergency medical and our police and fire are all adequately trained to handle the disaster as such.
Thank you. And thanks for bringing it up. Those people are suffering miserably. I don't have an answer for you on it, but I think Donna just hit the nail on the head. An evacuation plan, an emergency plan. Excellent thing for this team in the town hall to get the department heads to, and Board of Health and what have you, and the emergency response people to update or show us a plan. I don't have an answer for you right now other than they need to develop or improve what they do have.
I'm not making slight of this, but my understanding is that the reason why they're the second worst is because of earthquakes. So, and we don't have too many in this area. But given that said, or am I wrong on that? I don't know. What was the main reason? What is it? Oh, the way it was built. Correct. Right. The way it was built. That's what the way it was built due to earthquakes. But anyhow, I remember about 4 or 5 years ago, there was a whole pile of iodine pills coming into the town where I was. So I'll bet they probably have about 20 boxes somewhere. So I don't know either, like everybody else says. Maybe there is a plan that we don't know about, but we can check and find out.
Every and all towns need to prepare for emergencies. We have emergency preparedness programs, and they should be practiced. So some towns take that to heart, and they do it regularly, and they ensure that there's collaboration between their fire departments and their emergency personnel and their EMS and any other grassroots organizations to ensure that they could, in fact, evacuate the community if necessary and to address an issue that may come up. I know after Katrina, we were all required to develop them. I know within the Commonwealth of Mass, we have they're called COOP plans, and they have to be revisited. Who is going to be responsible for implementing? Do we have the personnel and the resources to implement them? And if not, who can we get to volunteer to take charge of that? So that's something that I would assume that we have that plan in place. I do not know how often we practice it or that we evaluate that we could effectively implement it. But that would be something that would be a way to be prepared in the event of any form of emergency.
I honestly don't have the answer to that question either, and I'm certainly not an emergency services professional. I tend to think that our departments and our police department, our hospitals and our schools are well aware and have a plan in place to address these situations. But I can tell you that I'll be looking for the plan tomorrow.
I spoke to, not about this particular issue, but about disaster planning with Chief Anderson at the Onset Fire District. And he was talking about their having drills. And they do that in conjunction with South Coast Hospitals, with the Wareham Fire Department, with EMS, and with Town Hall. Now, I would assume that given our proximity to the Pilgrim Power Plant that we want to evacuate. We are much too close to that to be able to deal with that from a medical standpoint. But again, I think that Town Hall definitely had some disaster preparedness there for the hurricanes or the almost hurricanes and blizzards, etc. So I'm certain that, as Jennifer said, that there is a disaster preparedness manual, and by far, with our proximity to the Pilgrim nuclear power plant, it would be evacuation, no question.
Marilyn, Ted over here with Marilyn.
Oh. Thank you very much. I'm Marilyn Donahue, currently serving on the Finance Committee, and I'm very grateful to hear all of you acknowledge that the town has some financial difficulties. And I'm sad to inform you that it's probably worse than you think. There's a lot of people who are working very hard to bring a balanced budget to town meeting. We are working cooperatively. And I would also like to assure everyone that there's not a lot of fat to be cut. There are going to be some very painful cuts continuing on through the next few years. The Capital Planning Committee has forewarned us. We're looking at about $60 million worth of capital expenses in the next 5 years. And I apologize if I'm going on, but I do want to give everyone a little bit of background for the question I'm going to ask. Because we all understand. See, Bob, this is how we do it nicely. Seriously, we all want to see good growth, responsible growth. We want to add to the tax base. We all agree on that. That's going to take time. It's not going to happen soon enough to fix our budget problems. It's been said in the past that this town will never go for override, which means continual increase to taxes. What I'd like to ask you is how you feel about a debt exclusion, which is adding to a tax bill, but for a limited project or a limited period of time.
Well, it is a good question. I guess my question would be, what's the item?
The items are going to be brought before town meeting. If you look at, there is a capital plan now. I don't know if it's been published. About $60 million, different projects. We have equipment. There are some capital items that are going to be that are on the warrant for this town meeting. But continuing on, the current Board of Selectmen opted to not put debt exclusion as a ballot question, so it's not an option for us right at the moment. But I would encourage and hope that the Board of Selectmen will continue that, to think about that. We have buildings that need to be repaired.
Okay, I get the gist of it, I believe. I mean, municipal maintenance, I just told someone the other day that we need to improve municipal maintenance to get the carpenters, painters, and what have you that are in the statutes into the department so he can maintain some of the properties. I'd have to really sit down and take a look at that. You know what? It sounds good, but an override, no. But an individual item, let's sit at the table and talk about it. And I could answer you better at a later date once we talked about it.
I can tell you right now that I wouldn't be for an override, because an override, that tax levy goes for the life of the override, so it will always be on our tax bill. Correct. My understanding of a debt exclusion is that it's for the life of whatever the capital outlay is. And so, yeah, I would consider thinking, you know, whatever that expenditure is, I would give it a thought. I do realize that the majority of the selectmen have to vote in the when there is a debt exclusion, and it's only a majority vote by the townspeople. So I would consider a debt exclusion depending on what it's for, and that has to be explained pretty right out, exactly where the monies are going.
I would concur with Frank. I would think it would require a great deal of education to the residents of Wareham so that they know specifically what the ideal debt exclusion was for, how long that they would be impacted by it, so that if there was a vote to that, people would have the information ahead of time so they could come out and vote, and that town as a whole would make that decision on whatever that capital planning expense would be.
I'm generally not in favor of increasing taxes at all. I certainly wouldn't vote for an override. However, depending upon the circumstances and what the debt exclusion was and how imperative it was, I would have to say I would have to know a little bit more about what the debt exclusion was for before I could really make an informed decision.
I'm definitely in agreement with most of the folks sitting here. I would not vote for an override. And again, there's not enough information. I mean, we need to know exactly what the debt exclusion would be for, how long, what impact it would have on all of us financially, and is it a few years, many years? It would definitely, there's not enough information to make a decision about that.
Well, I certainly wouldn't go for a tax override either. However, I do recognize the many, many needs that this town is facing, particularly the deferred maintenance and the deferred capital planning. And one of the, a couple of the major things that we have strived for on the Finance Committee is reserve and stabilization. And we have to drive this home. We have got to plan. We have got to have 5-year capital plans. And if we needed a debt exclusion for an issue related to education, whether it be the technology that some of the equipment that our children are using in the schools, I would definitely definitely support a one-time if it was going to help it in the educational field, or if it was because of a deferred maintenance issue that was critical. So I'd have to know the reason, but I would support it if it was justified.
Okay, Sandy and then Brendan and this gentleman over here. Ted, Sandy first.
Thank you, and if this is inappropriate, let me know, please. I'd like to know from each one of the selectmen if they've got the real time to be our selectmen, that they can stay for the full and complete selectmen's meeting, and they don't have obligations outside of the town. I know family and work, but I'd like to know if they have any requirements in their work to travel that would prevent them from attending selectmen's meetings. And if it's inappropriate, I'm sorry. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I really like that question. I'm 67, and I'm ready to retire, probably within a year. I've already talked to my town administrator that I want Fridays off, so I'm going to go to 4 days a week. Got a pension coming up, collect Social Security. My wife's going to be 62. I think I could have a lot of time dedicated to the town. That's all I got to say on that one.
Well, I already have Fridays off, Frank, so that works well for me. I do believe that the role of selectmen is to oversee the job done by your town administrator, your superintendent, and your different directors and boards within the town. It is not your job or my job. I am on a board for a school right now to oversee or get involved in the day-to-day operations of that town. You hire people to do that. You evaluate their performance. You set direction for them based on what the people of Wareham want. And then you go back and you need them to tweak what they're doing, but you do not need. This job was created to be a volunteer, part-time role. And if you have good time management and you're effective in what you're trying to accomplish, you should be able to do it in a very reasonable amount of time. So I do believe that since I don't work Fridays and I have a lot of skills to read and analyze, it's 10 o'clock, analyze documents that may be presented on a weekly basis, that I would be effective in fulfilling the role within a very good time management schedule.
I'm lucky enough to run a small business here in Wareham with my wife, and I've been dedicating the last couple of years attending Board of Selectmen meetings every week. I absolutely will dedicate the time necessary to move the town forward.
I definitely have the time. And the selectmen's meetings are on Tuesdays, and I believe that most of the committees meet Monday through Thursday, and that's generally the time that I have to dedicate to attend the meetings as a liaison, because that's the current policy, although, as you know, I'd like to change that. I'd like to see, rather than the selectmen going to the committees, I'd like to see the committees coming to the selectmen. The selectmen would certainly serve as a guest. I know they're a non-voting member. When there's something upcoming that's important, I would definitely hope that any chair of any committee would notify their liaison that an extremely important discussion was due to occur on that particular committee meeting. But definitely meetings Monday through Thursday and selectmen meetings on Tuesday nights. No question.
Tired. I work when I feel like it. It's a lovely, lovely thing, I'll tell you. But I would definitely, I have the time, but I too do not believe in micromanaging. And I would hire a professional, and I would let the professional do his job, and I would be there to advise him, and I would definitely look to double the salary of the selectmen.
To answer the question, yes, I have the time to put in as one of your selectmen, In the past, when I was a selectman, I honestly believe it was one meeting in 3 years that I missed, possibly a second. But the one that I did miss, I announced to people I was taking my son to a Celtics game because I got 4 seats from a client. So I announced that. But yes, I have all intentions of working very hard for this town. I love this town. There's a lot of good people, and I will put the time in. Thank you.
Brenda. Ted. Brenda, next to you.
Thank you. I know the question was asked before about water quality, and my question goes to the environment, more specifically recycling and pay-as-you-throw, which is a concept that I've been unable to push forward, and I would just like to know how each of you feel on a pay-as-you-throw system. Thank you.
Will you do me a favor and define pay-as-you-throw? I'm not sure I know what that is.
Pay-as-you-throw is when you have curbside pickup for your rubbish, but you would buy the bags at the store for, like, say, $1 a bag, and you would provide revenue, and it would provide recycling. So, thank you.
Well, I currently do buy curbside recycling. It could be economically feasible for me to switch to another system. I would be in favor of doing so. I am the recycling queen for my entire community, so I am a big proponent of recycling in the process as it is. So if it is a process that would just involve me replacing my current vendor to utilizing a bag system, I would be in favor of that.
I would also be in favor of a pay-as-you-throw system. I also contract with a private vendor, and I think that it would provide an opportunity for people to cooperatively, through the town, purchase rubbish collection services, and I think that that would provide an economic benefit to both the town and the pay-as-you-throwers.
I'm very familiar with the pay-as-you-throw program. I have a relative that's been using it, and what they found was, because the bags are really very expensive, I mean, they're $1 a bag or more, that people are encouraged to recycle because there is no charge for the recycling. So what they found is that people will have boxes and boxes of the recycled goods that shouldn't be in the landfill, and they'll have a very, very small bag of something that will go into the landfill. Now, we are absolutely dedicated recyclers, and if we could, we'd have the rubbish truck coming every other week, because we really only produce, just the two of us, we produce like maybe 1 bag of trash every 2 weeks. But it does absolutely encourage recycling, and I think it would be a really worthwhile program for the town.
Well, I'm not personally familiar with the program, but I do recycle, and I try to do my part and put it out with my trash collector when they come.
Well, I was very fortunate to help Jack Dixon open the recycling center several years back, and I was very much into recycling. I think I'm in favor of a plan like that. We just have to see what the cost is to the taxpayers for it, above and beyond what the bags cost. But it's a good idea, and I'd be willing to listen to the plan.
I probably shouldn't say this, but I love the way things going right now. I just load everything on my truck and bring it down to the dump. But with that said, I think if the governor goes ahead and gets his plan to pay 5 cents on these things, I think I'm going to definitely start recycling. I mean, it's going to start hurting me in the pocket. So I think inevitably, Brenda, that's going to happen anyway. So I'm definitely not against it. But I like the way it's going now, but I think I'm going to have to change.
All right, Ted, the gentleman over there, and then over here. And just for anyone who's interested, the town has a requirement for trash haulers that they must provide recycling service, curbside service. So take that for what it's worth. Okay, sir.
There's been a lot of talk about community.
I'm sorry, would you introduce yourself?
Harry Irving. There's been a lot of talk about communication tonight. Have any of the candidates reached out to the 3 board members that they'll be serving with? And do you think you'll be able to serve well with those 3 board members?
Okay, thank you. Who's Michael?
I've actually had several conversations after Board of Selectmen meetings with the current board members, of Board of Selectmen members, and I think I'd be able to work fine with all of them. Again, I think that we have to communicate with each other. We have to sit down at the table and act like adults in order to get anything accomplished in Wareham.
I too have had some conversations with the current Board of Selectmen members, and yes, absolutely. I can absolutely sit down and have a conversation with any one of them. We all have, the great thing is that it's such a diverse board. They all bring something to the table. And I think that we can celebrate those differences in different ways because you get to see all aspects of a discussion or of an issue and then come together for the best possible solution to any issue that arises. That said, again, all of us have to we're talking about communication because that's the only way that we're going to be able to move forward in any way. We can either keep our differences and let them be an anchor and hold us back, or we can kind of move forward and have effective communication all to bring our goals for Wareham to fruition. So what we need is a rudder. We don't need an anchor. So yes, absolutely, I can work with the current board.
Well, I've had breakfast with 2 of them and lunch with 1, and I can get along with most anyone, and I found them to be very pleasant and very much able to.
I also could work with any one of them. I know Walter pretty well. I've spoken with Mrs. Winslow. I've approached Mr. Holmes twice recently, and he's been on the phone twice, and it seemed like a lengthy conversation, so I didn't interrupt him. But to answer your question, I can work with the 3 of them. I've talked with 2 of them quite a bit. I have not spoken with Mr. Holmes on issues lately, but I can work with them.
Well, there's one of them there that I've been disagreeing with quite a bit for the last year. 2 of them on there. One I agree with probably 95% of the time. The other one I probably agree with probably 75% of the time. And believe it or not, the one I disagree with probably 90% of the time. I spent 4 hours with him the other night. So, you know, I like him though. So I get along with him.
I too have reached out to each one of the selectmen that will remain in that position after the election. I found that each one of them were approachable and respectful and willing to help me in any way, to give me suggestions about some of challenges in those roles, such as how to time manage or what are ways to work with some of the groups. So I do feel that there's a willingness to create a good collaboration between the existing board members that will be there and any potential new members, so that we can continue to make progress towards our initiatives in Wareham.
Okay, over here. Yeah, what time is it?
Hi, my name is Lisa Bindis, Precinct 6. One of the comments made earlier regarding Chief Stanley was that he may want a salary over $130,000 to come here as a full-time chief, and it was implied, it seemed, that might be too much money. And I know that he's done a great job so far, and you know, obviously, if you want a good football team, you need to pay extra for a great quarterback. If you want to have a winning team, My question is, the school superintendent will make over, from what I've been told, over $170,000 this year. And I'm just wondering what you think of those two salaries and what the correlation is between the two as far as the pay scale for the job that's being done.
Okay. Who starts? I think it's Ellen.
You said it the last time. You were already out there. We have no idea. Sorry. Okay. Well, you know, the current superintendent has been in the school system for over 30 years. He's gotten his degree. He's gotten his master's degree. He's gotten his doctorate's degree. He's worth every dime he's paid, in my opinion. Okay? But the chief of police has been the chief of police up in Andover and other communities for over 30 years, so I'm sure he's earned what he's asking for too. I don't dispute that in any way whatsoever. The only thing that I'm here to tell you is if the chief comes to Wareham as a full-time job, he's going to come here for, 2 to 3 more years. If you have the talent in the force right now, and I don't know if the credentials are there. I know we've got a lot of great men and women that are on our police force, and why not utilize who we have if they'll accept a difference in salary, and if not, what? Oh, I'm sorry. And that's basically, that's basically where I'm at. The town administrator, he himself is only making $105,000. Now I do realize this is his first town administrator's job, but I think, you've got to take into consideration what you have and what the experience they're bringing to the table. I'd love to pay. I think Chief Stanley's a great guy, but again, there's only so much in that pot.
Well, two of the main things that you brought up is the education of the children in the community, I think, is vital. And I think the young man that spoke earlier tonight, you've got to have these kids educated. You've got to have them understand what's happening around them, and you need them to step up. I think if the superintendent, if the school committee or comes up with that number and they feel that the qualifications meet that, I mean, that's how it got to there. As far as the chief goes, I got to tell you, I heard someone say earlier there's someone just as good. I'll tell you what, the resume on that guy is impeccable. I myself, personally, I think it was you, Donna, said he wanted $145,000. I myself, for the safety on the streets and for the programs and the stuff that he's bringing here and grant money that he'd at least investigate to go get, I'd pay him the money. I think that safety on the streets is crucial, and I think education is. They need the money. They need the support in the schools. And I think if the kids are getting taught the right way, then these people's resumes speak for themselves. But as far as the chief goes, I'd pay him to come here.
Hey. Look at, he works 1 to 2 days a week. Most of the time, 1 day a week. I'm not saying he's done a bad job, but if this guy can do that 1 day a week, our police force has to be pretty dang good. So I say we could bring somebody in there that can do it, because we have the police force that can do it. So I'm not saying anything bad about the guy, but I'm sure there's somebody out there, because we got the force that can do it. So we don't really need, and we don't need to pay $150,000.
I believe it is the role of the town administrator to do an analysis of other towns and other communities who have police chiefs with similar populations, similar crime index, similar needs, and to determine what is a comparable salary. To compare the superintendent of schools with the chief of police is like apples and oranges. You cannot make that comparison. We need to go out and find out what a police chief in a town our size And with the needs that we've had, I've met with Chief Stanley personally, and there's been some great initiatives and outcomes that have been realized by that department as a whole. And most importantly, when I spoke with him, is how he spoke of the competency of his staff. He spoke with them with great high regard. He talked about their ability to fulfill the mission of that department in his absence. That, to me, looks as a united force. That is something I would like to see stay in place for Wareham. But it's up to the town administrator to do that analysis, determine what his qualifications would be worth, and then he needs to work with the FinCom and see if we can afford it. That is the bottom line. And that's what I would see. I would like to see the chief stay and continue his efforts and mentor someone within the department to keep the department going and to utilize our internal resources and to promote someone within the department in the next couple of years. But if we can't afford it, then that is the bottom line for me. Thank you.
I certainly mean no disrespect to the superintendent of schools, but I think that Jennifer is right. Comparing the schools to the chief, comparing the school superintendent to the chief of police is like comparing apples and oranges. School superintendent doesn't carry a gun, and he's not responsible for the public safety of an entire community. Chief Richard Stanley has done an extremely incredible job reinvigorating the sense of community. The man is a leader. The man knows how to the man is a leader, and he knows how to teach. He's a mentor of his staff. I believe that the amount of work that Stanley has done for this community on a part-time basis far exceeds any level of service that we've ever received from the police department in the town in the time that I've been here. I think that the chief's plan absolutely is to continue to train the future leaders of the department, and I believe that he's well worth the investment. I think that you will find nearly everyone that I've spoken with in the community, will bring him to Wareham. The police officers, never before have they had such a high sense of morale. There are also other reasons why having Chief Stanley come to Wareham would be a fantastic idea. Public confidence and perception of public confidence in our police force and the perception of those outside our town, of the safety of our town, can have a dramatic impact on our economic plan for the town. Chief Stanley understands that, and he's been investing in our police officers, our police force. We went how long without training for our police officers? Some of them weren't certified for guns. The officers want them, the community wants them. Let's get them here.
All right, I will take two more questions, and then...
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It'll be kind of a short answer, because I think we can study the demographics all we want. We can certainly take a look at crime statistics in surrounding communities. But I think what we really need to look is at the performance. So if we had a performance of a man of this caliber, 30 years experience, president of the Police Chiefs Union, he ran the SWAT teams, we have seen extraordinary change in our department. And again, I'll echo that. It was also the morale of the police officers, the training. They're all attending all kinds of classes to bring them all up to speed. There was a reorganization. I would absolutely pay the man the money. He's worth his weight in gold. And every single person that I've spoken to, and I've spoken to many over the last several weeks, has expressed concern, and they want this man to be our chief of police on a full-time basis. If he could accomplish this in 1.5 days a week, what would he do here full-time?
All right. So the question there and up front.
Hi, Mike Flaherty. Along the same lines, hearing everyone sort of dance around it here. bottom line, what's the magic number for you guys? What is the figure you would pay to bring Chief Stanley here full time? Thank you.
Mike, I don't think that's answerable at this point because that's not. That's the town.
If they were
it's the town administrator's job to suggest this.
If they were selectmen today, what would they be advising the TA to pay?
I think I'm going to. There's no way they can know that answer because it would have to be vetted with the finance committee and the town administrator, and not one of this group has had that opportunity.
Okay.
Okay. Jane, down here, Ted.
Earlier, we were talking about the development and the financial situation of the town, and we were talking about revenue streams. And you were asked about override versus debt exclusion. There's a small revenue generator warrant article that will be coming before the town, and it is for a meals tax. It's for 0.75 of a cent. So if you were to pay a $100 bill out in your restaurant, you would pay an extra 75 cents in taxes. Those taxes would come directly to the town of Wareham. Would you be in favor of that, and why?
Okay. Does anybody know? Oh, wait, Donna, you're up next, right?
Okay.
Just started the last one. Let me just ask a quick question back. Was there one passed in the past in Wareham, or did it fail in Wareham? It failed. I myself was not in favor of it, but I heard that it was going to be, the money would go to the school department. Is that the case, Mrs. Donahue? Is it? Yeah, it's 0.75%. Is that what it was? I'm not a big fan of it, but I think if it's going to help out with the schools especially, I think we have to. I think you have to just bite the bullet and pay that little bit of a fee, because, like Mrs. Donahue said, like the speaker said, that if you're spending $100, it's pennies in the realm of things, and it's going to the children's education and the funding for it. So I think I would be this time in favor of it, to answer your question, where I was not in favor of it in the past. I think where it's being dedicated to something, I think I would be.
On the face of it, I would be against it, only because I don't know how much it would be bringing in. If it's going, how much? Well, times are tough. I don't like to be putting it on a certain group of people. So, honestly, I'd have to give some thought into it. There is one, there is a tax out there that the state of Massachusetts is thinking about it, and that's a tax on the rental. And boy, it would be unbelievable what that can be brought in, and that I would be for 100%. And what I'm talking about is the rentals of the cottages. They give a certain percentage. I don't think they pay anything right now. And that's something that I would be for it. But on the other tax, I'm not 100% against it. But I don't like to waver on things. But I would consider it, I guess.
Typically, I'm not in favor of new taxes, but I do believe in putting it out to the residents if it's for a specific planning purpose. So if it is truly to be 50-50, where the schools would benefit and help with their budget, then that would be something that I would be in favor of putting forth. It's not that much of an increase. I do know many towns have gone to that with the current deep cuts in local aid, and they have not seen a dramatic decrease in the patron of their businesses. So I do know that there is research out there that would demonstrate that people's businesses have not taken a big loss from the introduction of such a tax, and that I think that it would be favorable for the town as a whole.
think I said earlier that I'm generally not in favor of additional taxes, because I think that the town really needs to make an effort to live within its means. But on this particular issue, I think that I would be looking to see what surrounding towns, if surrounding towns had adopted the same tax, I think that it would be worth putting out there for the citizens to consider. Otherwise, I don't think, because I do think that we do need to increase revenues for the town, and I think, that I don't think that it would necessarily impact the businesses. I think that it would impact people from coming out of coming to eat at our restaurants from out of town. I know that there'd be certainly folks impacted here who eat out, but I think it's a small amount that could certainly go a long way to help the town with a revenue stream. Again, so long as there was fair competition, other towns had the same tax.
Although I've heard a lot about that we need more revenue for the town, I absolutely agree with that. But we also need to live within our means. And not in good conscience could I vote for more taxes. We're all paying more taxes, and we're all having deep cuts in local aid. So we're not seeing a decrease in our taxes for the decrease of services. So I could not support any kind of increased tax, even though something as small as that. We're also on the same warrant article, I believe that may be coming up as a warrant article, we're going to be talking about a debt exclusion. So those of us that have our household budgets have to live within our means. And unfortunately, and I know there's going to be some cuts that are going to be painful for our town, but we have to learn to live within our means.
Well, contrary to that, I applaud Mrs. Donahue's suggestion because it's creative thinking. It's going to bring money into this town. And 90% of that money is going to come from folks traveling through our town. 75 cents, folks, on $100. It's not going to impact us that much. It's not going to impact anyone that much. And we're going to reap the benefits. Again, the FinCom voted on this article, and we voted to support this. And I do applaud Mrs. Donahue because it was a great, great opportunity. Instead of cutting, we're looking to generate.
All right. I would like to thank everyone for your questions because, because this is so important, we're going to give each of the candidates 2 minutes to sum up what they want to say to you tonight. Michael, we'll start with you because we started with Ellen at the other end.
Nancy, before you do that, I want the people to acknowledge Nancy Miller, the moderator who handled this show very well. Give her a round of applause.
I think I'd just like to sum up by saying that if you're looking for someone experienced with budgets and in community building, I have over 20 years experience working for a community organization, and I'm looking for your vote. I want to be a selectman in Wareham. I have the time to dedicate to it. I care deeply about the community. I spent all my summers as a child here. I moved here with my family as soon as my first son was born, and I'm committed to a better Wareham. And I want your vote.
I just feel that I have the experience of working in teams. My current position is a job in which I work with a team of people in which every single month a different person is the team leader. So therefore you're dealing with different leadership styles on a monthly basis, which gives you a well-rounded ability to agree to disagree, but to have a united front when you're interacting with the public so that they are on board with the goals of what you're trying to achieve. I have 22 years of experience in both the public and private sector with increasing responsibilities in consumer needs analysis, program and policy development, fiscal management, staff supervision, and training. Overall, I believe I have skills to bring out all of the work that you all do on an everyday basis, but to synthesize that into a master plan that we can continue to follow and look at so that we can continue to make progress, because the goal is to have Wareham be seen as a valued town. I want us to go from what else do you expect in Wareham, then to we will expect nothing less than the best in Wareham. So that's why I ask for your vote. Thank you.
I'd just like to reiterate what I had said earlier about my experience as a past selectman and my present experience working with municipal government. Almost every day I either see the assessor, the town clerk, the town accountant. I do my own budget. I have people working under me. I know how town government works. Just for instance, on the assessor, she's in my office because she'd like to know how far along a building is gone, so that she doesn't have to go out there and assess it at a certain rate. In other words, at what point before January had that building got done. So all I'm saying is I have experience with municipal government, with each individual department, and I know how the department works. So I ask for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you to each of the candidates tonight. Good job, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, it's simple. I ask for your vote again. Simple. Hard-working, honest, fair, independent. That's what you want. That's what you need. I am John Cronin, and I ask you to make me your selectman again. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
I want to thank everybody for coming out too, and I'm going to just recap. And I've got the experience, the business experience, over 35 years. I've supervised over 200 employees. I've built buildings. I've rehabbed buildings. I've managed people. I am your FinCom chairperson. I've sat on the FinCom for 4 years. I know exactly what we're facing. And I've been plugging through with the different boards in this town and working with them. I believe that I'm the person. I've got a great sense of humor, and I can get along with the devil himself. So I would love to be your next selectman, and I would certainly make you all proud. Thank you.
Thanks for spending these many hours with us here this evening. But I absolutely want to be your next selectman. I am a nurse, and that's easily transferable to being a selectman. I care about the health of a person. I care about the health of this community. In order to have a healthy community, we have to be able to have healthy communication. We need to have healthy avenues of communication. We need to come together as a community, everybody be heard. This is how we determine the health of a patient. Everyone's heard, all the information is on the table, then we make an assessment. Then we come together and we evaluate the status that we are now. Where are we now? Where do we want to be? Let's come together, form a plan, all get behind that plan, and in doing so, we're going to cut the time that it takes to achieve those goals in half, only because we've all come together. As my dad used to say to me all the time, many hands make light work, and I want to be there to help lead this, be one of the leaders of this town, because, again, many hands make light work, and I know that I would be a great selectman for the town of Wareham.
Okay. Thank you, guys. You can keep that. Thank you and good night.